I can see it says there are a bunch of people waiting on the, it said somewhere 24 people are waiting in YouTube.
Hello, folks. We are on. At least
There we
that's what it
go.
says. So, welcome to our second round, but our first of round two of our Clear Admit Decision Day watch party. This time brought to you in part by Johns Hopkins Carey Business School, which we want to thank Johns Hopkins for jumping in on this with us. If you were not with us in December, we had done this for the first time ever in December, had a lot of fun with
Yeah.
it. And we actually had a member of the John Hopkins team available to talk with us and be a part of the session. And they said, you know what, we really like that. We want to be part of it next time. How about we put our name on it? And I said, you know what, let's do that. So we're back again for round two, literally, and lots of going on today. So Graham, how are you this morning or this afternoon over in Paris?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been a terrible rainy day here, but otherwise I've had this to look forward to all day because it's getting to be mid-afternoon for me. So yeah, no, I'm good. And this is a great day. I mean, we just have so many business schools, some of the big guns, right, coming up with their decisions today. And it's just been, the last 10 days or so, have been so busy with schools. I want to say it kicked off earlier in the month. We had Tepper very early out of the gate. And then maybe Duke and Ross over at University of Michigan and Yale, Tuck. I mean, they've all been Georgetown. They've all been coming fast and furious over the last week, and now there's a lot on tap for today, right?
Yeah. We'll get the schedule up in just another second here, as well as our
Yeah.
schedule of who we're going to be talking to, which is great. But while I get that prepped, I was curious, Graham, if you would indulge, right? And we're
Yeah.
here for Decision Day. I'm going to put a little thing up here, make sure this is working properly. But basically, just wanted to say, what are your memories? Like you've been admitted to an MBA program. You have also worked in MBA offices, right? So like, what are these days mean to you, and what does it mean to be waiting for a decision and then also delivering these decisions?
Well, I mean, not to put a downer on it, but the first time I applied to business school, I didn't really get into many places. I remember, I distinctly remember getting the thin envelope. I mean, this is, before the internet practically. The thin envelope from, Harvard and Wharton, all those schools the first year I applied. I did get into a couple of schools as well, but I decided not to go and I reapplied. And I also remember the second time around because I remember the phone call because you get, a phone call. Well, it depends on the school, right? But some of these schools, and in my case, I got a bunch of phone calls. And yeah, I still can kind of remember taking the call. I got a phone call from Columbia, a phone call from Wharton. I don't think Harvard called me, but I got a letter in the mail from them, and I just still remember opening that letter. And yeah, no, it's a great moment. I mean, obviously for me, given that I'd kind of failed the first time round on some of the top schools I'd really wanted to attend, it was definitely a big reward the second time round. And also, like, I don't know if the admissions teams felt sorry for me, but like, there was definitely like when I got on the phone with them and they were congratulating me, it was kind of like, yeah, we saw you last year too, and this year we're gonna let you in. It was kind of like I could tell they were sort of maybe rooting for me a little bit, and it was like I was like a, whatever you call it, the person who comes into the coffee shop every day, instead of just the, first time customer, I was
Mm-hmm.
repeat customer, right? So, and then working in admissions at Wharton, yeah, obviously making the phone calls. Yeah, it's a, I mean, it's funny because some people you call them and they're at work, right? And they can't, and their boss or people around them don't know that they've applied. So they
Mm-hmm.
sound very subdued. They answer the phone like, "Hey," and they're like, "Hey, I have some great news for you." And they're like, "Oh, okay," and then and then they're kind of you hear a lot of walking around or something. And then they finally get outside and they're like, "Whew, okay, I just couldn't say anything. I was in the office." So there's a lot of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and other people cry. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, when we did this in December, you remember, we talked to all these admissions directors for the round one decisions, and so many of them. What was the school that was like, yeah, we kind of keep track of people who yell out, "I got a crier," it's like it's a thing to get someone who's so excited that they're crying.
It is those tears of
Yeah.
joy, of course, hopefully.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah, and that's the
So
thing
yeah,
is like I remember these days on both ends as well, but like from the admissions office side, and I think a lot of times you get the person on the other end. Yeah, there's the reaction. They cry, they get excited, they say, this is amazing. But then they always say like, "Oh, thank you so much for getting me in." And I always had to stop and remind, well, first you stop and you're like, all right, yeah, like I did do something, right? I was involved. But I always like to stop people and say, no, I did the bare minimum. Like I told people in my office that you were available to be admitted. You earned your spot, right? So I think people, it is quick to like thank that person, their admissions person. And look, the admissions reps, they do a fantastic job. I've been on their side of the fence here. It is a lot of work to get folks admitted. There's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of questions that you have to answer for applicants to make sure they put their best foot forward. But remind yourself, like, you're the one who is doing that. You're putting the work through, you're writing those essays, you're doing those interviews. You've earned your spot, right? So, so take that moment when you do hang up, like, yes, thank your admissions officer. But when you hang up, like, be proud of yourself, because it is a big moment. It's probably a dream come true for a lot of folks, hopefully everybody. And it's good to celebrate, and then I guess go back to the office. If you're in your office, you kind of be one of those like like really quick and quiet. Maybe take that call from like the bathroom or something. Go hide.
Right.
You don't want to take it at your desk where everyone can see you crying or exuberated or whatever it's going to be. So with that, I can get to this next piece here. I do have a couple of different slides. I did not even introduce ourselves, so we might want to start there.
Oh, yeah, we should do that. Yeah, so people have no idea who we are.
Yeah, people have probably no clue. Well, they probably know who you are.
Our names are here.
Yeah, I'm going to be the new person here that people are going to be like, I don't know who this guy is. So
people know you. You're on Reddit all the time, man. Come on.
I'm around. Yeah, now this is the face behind the Reddit here. So I don't know where my view is. I just lost it, but we're going to get there in 1 second here. Where am I at? Okay, change scene. This is like riding a bike here. I got to remember what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. We're back.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So we're going to send this live here. So as I'm wasting my own time here, I'm Mike. So clear admit, Mike, that's me. So people that have been yelling at me for the last couple of days saying I don't know enough about when these decisions are coming out, we have a whole day planned of decisions. So I think we know a little bit. We're going to have some fun looking through what is coming out today, and we'll go through the list in a second here. But then I also work very closely with all of our school partners, doing a lot of these events, whether it's behind the scenes or putting them out in front of you all, and then making sure that schools can connect to our audience, which I think is very important. We don't do bespoke consulting any longer, so we're not one-on-one helping candidates, but we're kind of helping the candidates by the masses. And so my work here is to hopefully connect as many of you as possible to our school partners to help you all get into your top program. And then we have Graham, who just founded the place, like no big deal, but he just kind of, put this thing together. Co-founded the place, correct.
Yeah. And I, as you were alluding to earlier, used to work at Wharton in admissions, and then started Clear Admit. Originally was an admissions consulting company. And then over time, we just built up such a massive following on the website and with all the content that we're putting out that we decided to sort of flip the switch and become more of a candidate community. And that's been a great decision. We have all these amazing tools like Livewire that we built and that have, I think, helped candidates, tremendously, just to be able to look at historical data. Some of the other tools, I'm hoping people, when they get in and are making decisions, they'll use DecisionWire on our website as well, because we're trying to democratize the whole process and put data out there for everyone to see, so that there's no secret. You can sort right now. You could go in and sort Livewire entries from round 2 last year. Choose Harvard or something and see like, okay, what did the people who got into Harvard last year, round 2, look like in terms of test scores, years of work experience, GPAs? Like, you can see all this stuff, location, career goals. I mean, it's all in there. And it's a lot of, I just find it's kind of super helpful to get a feel for things, because sometimes, when you're applying to business school, not everyone is applying from a place that sent 100 candidates before to the same business school. And so it's a little lonely. And I think that's what we've tried to do, is build a community with lots of great resources and admissions tips and things. And we have we built our own AI bot, Ask Clear Admit, which is, just been going gangbusters. Like I keep seeing, because we get, based on the usage of the tool, we see, the kind of meter running up on, because we built it on OpenAI's platform, right? So we see the meter running as people are using this tool, and it's just it's been so helpful as people kind of navigate the admissions process, want to ask questions. And it's so much better than regular ChatGPT, right? Because it's built solely on the database of information that we've amassed over the years about business school and the interviews we've conducted with admissions directors, all the events we've done. So yeah, definitely no too many cooks spoil the recipe problem with our AI bot. It's not combing the web to kind of bring in every possible piece of advice. It's really focused on the good advice that we have here in our possession. So,
Mhm.
what do we got, Mike? Are we, so who, do you know who the first, are there schools, are you going to put up a schedule? Is that what we're going to do next? Are we
Yeah.
going to talk
Yeah.
about,
Yeah. We'll jump
um,
right in. So,
oh, here we go. All
um,
right.
yeah, today's decision. So let's walk through the list, right? So I have it as we're at about 9:45 a.m. Eastern. These are all listed as Eastern time. Sorry, I'm a little Eastern
Okay.
time zone centric putting this together, but this will help us kind of schedule out the day. So we are about 15 minutes away from our estimation on Northwestern Kellogg's portal
Nice.
update. And so the ones on the left with a time, those are going to be portal updates. And one thing we'll
Hmm.
talk about today with a couple of different schools, and as I walk through this slide here, we can discuss as well. There are portal updates, and then there are phone calls. And sometimes the order is flipped, but for the most part, we're trying to display the first point of contact of when you may hear what your decision is going to be. So today, Northwestern at 10 a.m., they have a portal update. Anybody awaiting a round 2 decision, you'll find out in the portal at that time. So go check that out. That's 9 a.m. Central for those of you waiting in Chicago or in that time zone. Obviously, check your own times around the world as well. Following that, later in the day, we'll have Harvard at 12 p.m. Colombia right now is listed as a TBD. That is on authority from their admissions office. We will hope to update that throughout the day, and we'll show you the guest list later. But we'll have somebody who can update us on that time frame later in our session today.
Yeah.
Last year, they did go at 12 p.m., but that is subject to change. So want to make sure we list them as TBD. And then on the other side, we have phone calls. So there are some other programs here that have started or may start calling their candidates. And then that'll be followed by a portal update. Calls generally mean you were admitted. So if you see a phone
Yeah.
call
Yeah. They're
from
not,
an area code
yeah. They don't call you to tell
located,
you didn't get in.
that's
Yeah.
correct. Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
That'll be a different type of a cry on the other end of those
Right.
calls.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Not a fun call.
so what we can say, and we'll go look at Livewire in a little bit here, but Berkeley Haas has begun calling. So there are calls already being reported. That'll continue through today, all the way into tomorrow. So plenty of time to still hear back from Berkeley. Other schools at the bottom here also tracking. Marshall has also started calls. Anderson may start calls during today's session.
Mhm.
Stern has already been rolling out their decisions. Same for Cornell. And then Foster, their listed date is, I believe, tomorrow. But their
Mhm.
decisions already started coming out. So there's a lot of action, and we'll show you on Livewire later as we scroll through. But any of these schools, and maybe there's a few others that are a little busy. I know Cambridge was busy this week. There's a couple schools that have their dates for tomorrow, like Chicago Booth or Texas McCombs. So plenty of things to look out for this week and next week as well. And then kind of that's the end of decision month, as we like to call it, which is pretty busy this year.
Yeah, no, it's been crazy. And yeah, there's still a couple of schools next week, right? I think we've got what Wharton and Stanford next week, or two that come to mind.
Wharton,
But
Stanford, Sloan as well.
oh yeah, MIT, yeah. So there's still a lot to come. Yeah, I'm kind of we're speculating about this Columbia, what time it'll come today. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, we got some tricks up our sleeve on the show. This is our second decision day watch party. You know, we did our first back in round 1. So yeah, Mike, you've pulled out all the stops, and we've got a really great list of guests that are going to join us today too, which I'm looking forward to. But I can't believe we're like a little more than 10 minutes away now from the Kellogg decisions. And I don't think they're doing it anymore. But one thing that's just funny, Kellogg used to do like a group Zoom, right? They would like send you a Zoom
Yes.
invite.
Yeah.
And then you would log, and if you got the invite, you were admitted, but you would log in and then everyone would be on, and then they would say, "Hey, if you're in the Zoom, you're accepted." But I don't think they're doing it that way anymore.
No.
But I think, yeah, that'll be sort of an announcement coming. And oh, I see this is a good segue, Mike. You got Steve Thompson on the calendar here at 10:30, and he's the senior director of admissions at Kellogg. So he oversees everything to do with the MBA from the admissions side, and great guy. I can't wait to catch up with him. So yeah, we'll see what he has to say. I guess he's going to be taking a break from the euphoria of getting the decisions out. But yeah, we'll see. And we've got Jen up first today. Looks like right after the top of the hour.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jen from our title sponsor program. So she'll pop on. She was with us last time as well. Their decisions are already out. So if you're waiting to hear from Carey, I'm assuming you're a round 3 applicant or maybe on a wait list or something like that. But all of their decisions were at the beginning of March. So no new information from them likely, but still good to catch up with Jen and talk through what is new at Carey, and what you can look forward to coming into the program in the fall. You mentioned Steve already. We have Morgan coming in from Duke. Again, their decisions have already come out. But this is what's great, Graham. We had a couple schools that kind of came to us that said, "Hey, we didn't really get to do this thing last time. We don't have decisions on the day you're doing it. So can we hang out?" And it's like, yeah, why not? So we'll talk about how things went when they were doing their decisions when she pops on a little bit later on the show. And then we do have where's my other one here? So we have 4 more guests kind of later on in the afternoon. Morning my time, I guess. But afternoon for some of these folks as well. So we'll then kick it over to Michelle Pava, who is a VP of Admissions and Recruitment over at the Consortium. So this is a non-school partner who will talk through decision days and how things work for their cohort of applicants, which will be really exciting to hear about.
Yeah, because I actually don't know a ton about how that process works, because I know you apply to the consortium and you can apply to a whole bunch of top schools via the consortium. And then, hopefully she'll give us a rundown there just to kind of explain it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And for folks that are in the process, or hopefully we have some folks watching who may be looking to apply in future years, and maybe she can provide some guidance on how to be involved in the consortium and what they can offer to applicants. And, there's a ton of stuff that they do besides just admissions to business school. So it'd be exciting to hear from her. Diego's back from Juno. So we had him last time right around the same time. So he'll come back to talk through what do you do next, right? You got to pay for this thing. And not everybody's going to get a full ride scholarship, although we all hope you all will, but some of you won't. I'll spoil that for you. There will be some of you that do not get a full ride scholarship today, even if you do get admitted. So Diego can be here to help explain what Juno can do for you, and really just kind of like what the marketplace for loans, for financial aid, for all of that will look like for all students. So that should be exciting. And then 12 p.m. as a reminder is when we expect Harvard's decisions to be hitting the portal. But we're also going to have Meg joining us. Graham, I didn't mention this to you. So Meg, while she's joining us representing Berkeley Haas, she's actually going to be doing that from Hawaii.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Early, her time. So while again it's 12 p.m. my time in the East Coast, it would be 9 a.m. where Berkeley's located. It's even earlier where she's out in Hawaii. So she's going to get up early.
We owe her. Yeah, we owe her big time. She's up early. All right. Well, but hopefully, the weather out there is probably fantastic and she's probably enjoying. That's because Berkeley, you said Berkeley's already, or they've started their decisions already. So I guess the bulk of the reading and all that stuff is done for the round. So yeah, I wonder if she's getting some vacation time or something. We'll have to find out.
We will ask, or she could be joining us between admit phone calls, because those are still going out. So maybe she'll do a phone call while she's on with it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
See what she's able to do.
That'll be a first for the internet. Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see. And then you've got Trisha from Colombia. So that's why you're speculating that they may do noon again, you think? So she's gonna press yes on the send decisions out button and then come and join us, or maybe it'll be earlier, I wonder.
It's quite possible, right? I mean, that's kind of that would be a lovely thing. We'll say. I'm not promising that. I have not promised that on Reddit for all of you who've been, again, asking me to find the exact time and minute of the day that it'll come out. Like, look, I'm going off the guidance we've been given from schools, and that's what we do here, and that's why we do this kind of an event, right? I understand it's a lot to wait for these things. There's a lot that goes into these decisions, both on the school side, but the applicants, right? Like, you're waiting pins and needles to find out. We're doing our best. Like, we're trying to give you some kind of a peek behind the curtain here. But I would hate to say it's definitely 12. And then what if it is 2 o'clock? What if it's 5 p.m.? Like, I don't want to be, ahead of my skis here.
We should have sent you up to New York with a microphone, and you could have kind of monitored who's going into the office at what hour, and then, had a real clear sense of when they're going to press the button.
The production budget's going up on this event as we
totally
we discuss these things.
So one thing I did want to mention before we get to the top of the hour, because I know we're gonna see those Kellogg results come in very soon here. I did want to just say one thing, which is that Obviously there are different outcomes, right? People get in, they get rejected. Sometimes you're waitlisted, and there's all kinds of scenarios that, people paint based on that. Obviously, in some cases, this is, today might not be the only day that you're hearing from schools, so there may be other news to come. But one of the things I just wanted to mention is if you do get into school, something that some schools do, and not all of them do it for everyone, but they do it sort of sporadically as kind of a spot check, is background checking. And we
Mm.
have a really good piece about this up on our website, but it's nothing to be scared about. But they do, they will sort of verify that you are who you say you are. They will, kind of check your transcripts. They'll connect with your recommenders, make sure that they know who the heck you are and that they did indeed, write something for you. They might verify with HR at your current employer to just, verify your dates of employment that you've submitted, or, salary, or any of that stuff. So be ready for it. One thing I do also want to clarify though is that some people get really nervous about this because they're like, oh, if one little thing is off, they're just going to rescind my offer. And that's not the way it works. I mean, a background check is such that they run the background check. If anything comes up, they come to you first and they say, hey, we're just seeing this like discrepancy. Can you explain? You always have a chance to talk through. And obviously mistakes happen, or sometimes, there's just a misunderstanding or whatever. So, but just being aware that that does happen for some of these top programs. Obviously, I think of it as a good thing. It's sort of like they're just making sure that the people that they're bringing into the program have, all those attributes that they claim they do in in the applications, right? So, yeah, and that's where they'll, verify your official GMAT or GRE score, all that stuff. So that's just part of this process. Nothing to be afraid of, and usually it doesn't happen right away. Obviously, it only happens if you're going to matriculate and have, sent in your deposit and are really moving down the road here. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that there's a good tip on our website in the admissions tips section called, I can't remember what it's called. It's something like how to prepare for background checks or something like that. So
Good tips.
we've got like, what do we have now? Just a couple minutes until
Well,
Kellogg. Now, yeah, are they doing a portal release? Did you say? I should have been listening to you when we started the show, but they're
oh,
just
thanks
going
a
to
lot.
update the portal.
They'll have a portal release, and so what we will end up seeing is Livewire get pretty busy right after that. So to show folks Livewire, and this is Livewire, right? So if you're on the stream
Yeah.
right here listening to us, open up a second tab, go check this out on your own, and you can scroll through and sort and do all the fun things that you want to do as you're trying to figure out what's
What
going
do
to
we
happen
have
today.
here? So is
And
anything coming in?
so
Oh, so someone got waitlisted at Stern. I see a little bit earlier today. Yeah, okay. And Yale, when were those Yale decisions? Those were late last week, I believe, right? Like
yeah.
Thursday, I want to say.
Mhm.
So this is the other thing. People still sort of trickle them in. But it's yeah, so that's why it's such an exciting time, right? Because we just see people still reporting about schools that were making acceptances last week. I mean, Duke was, 10 days ago or whatever. INSEAD though, isn't INSEAD I want to say that they were also last Thursday.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but this person here is saying they got a phone call on the 19th. That was last Thursday. So, yeah, lots of stuff coming in. I love just looking at, some of the stats. I just can't. I'm a nerd. I love to see, the numbers here. And also you could just often see, oh, this person has kind of a low GPA, but look at that really high GMAT score. Things kind of balance out, right? So schools are looking for academic readiness. They're looking for kind of some realism in your career plan and goals. Oh, there's some Cambridge, like you said. So yeah, lots of, this will stay busy, as we, get, and yeah, and I'm expecting it'll just kind of get filled with a bunch of Kellogg results for a little while this morning. Because they're the only ones at 10, right? I think so.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only ones with a large release at the same time. So that's the thing with the
Yeah.
portals is we'll end up
Yeah,
seeing a
the
flood
flood.
of results from them. All three outcomes, right? You'll see the admits, waitlist, and denies. Whereas for
Yes.
some other schools like Cornell, which is popping up right now, or Berkeley, which we talked about earlier, they're not done
Mhm.
yet. So they're still kind of doing the phone calls. So you won't see really
Yes.
waitlists or denies to those schools until their final day, which for both of those schools is, I believe, tomorrow. So
Right.
yeah, so we'll see a lot of green for certain schools sprinkled out. It doesn't mean no one got denied. It just means that they didn't
Yeah.
send those out
They haven't.
yet. Yeah.
And people don't often race to Livewire to share bad news. I mean, some people
Why
are,
not?
they're like, I mean, I think the people who have like really amazing numbers and think that they should have gotten in, they're often keen to share that they were rejected because they're kind of like waiting for people to leave a comment that says, "Whoa, you should have gotten in," or whatever. But generally speaking, people love to share good news. One thing I wanted to mention, I see a Georgetown entry here, a little bit
Mhm.
of an exclusive, but I just yesterday I sat down with Ann Kilby, who's the director of admissions at Georgetown, and we recorded a really great podcast, kind of just sort of an admissions director Q&A. But I asked her to kind of take us behind the curtain on how they go about kind of organizing once a file comes in and how they, what's the reading process like. So that should be, I mean, it'll probably be another week or so, but that'll come up in the Clear Admit podcast feed. So if you're listening to the show on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcast, you should see it. But yeah, definitely. What a great, I mean, she's a great person and I had a great conversation. And she also shared something interesting, which is that they have a round three deadline that's coming up in a few days here. But then they also, like some other schools, after that round deadline hits, they still will take apps. They move to kind of a rolling sort of status. And she said that often the turnaround is like, because it's a slow trickle of candidates who are applying this late in the season. She's like, the turnaround is like a week or two. So if you
That's
strike
nice.
out, and you don't get in round two to some of the schools you're thinking about, there are schools, like Georgetown that you could apply, in April, May, and get a pretty quick response. And they do that on purpose because they know that people need to get their lives sorted and get a visa if they're international, et cetera. So anyway, just I thought that was interesting. We see schools do that. I think Tepper might be another school that does that as well.
Mhm.
But good to know. I mean, not that I'm predicting bad news for everyone tuned in today, but if you don't get in somewhere, your options are not all exhausted. It doesn't mean you have to wait until next year, like I had to when I applied because I didn't have it together. But yeah. So just kind of an FYI there.
And speaking of receiving decision news, we have now hit 10 a.m.
Oh
Eastern
yeah.
time,
Okay.
9 a.m. Central time, meaning we assume that the Kellogg decisions are now live in the portal. If all holds true, we will obviously confirm that as we see news coming through on Livewire, and we'll show you that
Yeah.
news as it comes through. But
Who's going to be the first one to post? That's what I'd love to know. And also,
I,
I don't know
yeah,
if, yeah, I was going to say people could, people watching on YouTube, I think they can leave comments, can't they? Like write
correct.
notes into the feed there. So if you guys, if anyone has any questions, about MBA admissions, preferably, you can,
Or
you can do
baseball.
that. I mean, yeah, okay. I'm happy to talk baseball too, because
We could
actually it's
talk
opening
baseball.
day today. There's like one game today, right? And then all the games start tomorrow.
Yeah.
But in any event, so yeah, we'll see if some Kellogg results pop up. I'll be curious to see where the first one comes from. But yeah, we'll we will see. Uh, yeah, it's I think this is always kind of pins and needles here as we wait for for people to share the news. But it's been I've been impressed this year by not only how people in our community are doing. Like you see a lot of really good results, and I'm referring specifically to not just acceptances, but acceptances with nice sized scholarship packages. So,
Yeah.
and that's
You
something
can,
that you can see a lot of on Decision Wire, right? Because people who are done with the process can come in and say, "Hey, here are all the schools that I applied to, and here's the scholarships I was offered, and I'm thinking of going here, or I'm undecided." You can see the batch of ones that you're showing here are undecided folks who've got varying scholarship amounts at different schools, and often they'll share a little bit about their career plan. And this person that's in the middle of the screen here, financial services background, wants to do investment banking in New York. They're trying to decide between Columbia, Cornell, and Darden. I think actually we just talked about this candidate on the episode of the Clear Admit podcast that will air Monday. So if you're curious to know what we thought they should do, you can you can listen to the podcast that'll air on Monday. But in any event, yeah. So Decision Wire is interesting just because you can see how much money people are getting in many instances, and also just
yeah.
the dilemmas that people face. It's not always cut and dried. Like sometimes money can be a factor, but also geography, um, fit. People sometimes are like, "Hey, I really, it's been my dream to go to this school," and other people will be like, "Oh, but that school's not as high ranked as that other one," but they don't. That's not the only factor that people take into account, right? So, um, in any event, yeah, the Stanford person, I remember seeing this one come in the other day. did quite well. If I remember correctly, they have some massive scholarship offers. Is that 150K at Stanford?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
152
need based.
Stanford, which is what they took.
Yeah.
Turned down 180 to Yale,
Wow.
130 to
Yeah.
Kellogg, 120.
Yeah.
I mean, they have. I'll take some of that they turned down. It's fine.
Yeah.
Not all of it. I'll take a little bit of it.
They're not, it goes back into the
Fine.
pool, Mike.
Back.
Now, what's,
Darn.
yeah.
So here's the
One
thing,
thing you
right?
can,
So
yeah.
there might be
Yeah.
somebody right now receiving a piece of this 130,000
Yeah,
in a
that's right.
round 2 Kellogg decision because this person may have already told them that they're not going to attend. So this is the
Yeah,
other
that's
reason
right.
we like to show this stuff, because
Yeah.
people sometimes will say, well, it's round 2, all the scholarship has already been given out. Not
No, it comes back.
necessarily,
Yeah.
because this person, they can't go to 5 business schools. It would be cool,
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
not going to do that.
And,
And can't go to
and
5. You also don't need to get into 5 either. So another thing, people get really caught up that they only get into one school. Well, you can only attend
that's all
one
you
school.
need.
Also, take the one and be excited about that. If it's one school, you only apply to the schools that you wanted to go to for at least some reason, when you're in the process. So it'll probably work out for you.
Yeah. And those numbers that this person has, pretty impressive, right? In terms of, you know, um, there's just what do they have? The 705 and a 38. So those are really big
It
numbers.
was.
So I'm not surprised they're seeing some dollars there.
So to prove the news here, and thank you for actually the YouTube
Oh, wow.
chat.
I
We do have somebody who said they checked the Kellogg release right at like 2 after the hour. It wasn't out yet. Then they just came back and let us know that someone did post an outcome. So we do have somebody who's watching. So awesome
and got
work
in.
here.
Congratulations.
And put in. So congrats to you over in New York. I'm a New Yorker, so big ups to our New York friends who are getting into Kellogg. Impressive scores here, like looking good. Wants to get into technology. Plenty of options, whether that's in New York or all over the country, all over the world for technology. So let us know in the chat here what you're looking to do and stuff. But thanks for watching, first off, and congratulations on your acceptance to Kellogg. Cool stuff.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I was thinking about that person who got into Stanford, and I was looking up the numbers, and I was just thinking, like, what is the, like equivalent of, a 705, because I always still think of the GMAT in the old terms, and that's like a 750. So that's a very high score. So anyway, just sidebar, but congrats to this person who got into Kellogg. Very cool stuff that someone who's watching the YouTube has actually gotten good news. I remember last time around, I think we had, didn't we have, we had maybe Anne from Georgetown on, and someone had gotten into Georgetown or something. So
yeah, it
very
was,
good stuff.
so Anne was on. We had somebody earlier in the day, right around this time, actually, when we had put up the schedule of who was going to be joining us, all of our guest list. And the person had wrote and said, I can't wait to hear from Anne. I'm really interested in Georgetown. I hope I get in today. And then they were chatting and doing all this stuff. And then they kind of disappeared for like half an hour. And partially while Anne was on. And then that person came back to the chat later to let us know the reason they disappeared was because they received their admittance call from Georgetown. So really cool stuff to be able to report on that, which was awesome. So yeah, shout out to the folks that are watching us, that are receiving decisions, posting decisions, listening to our guests, which we'll have a guest popping on in another 5 minutes or so, which will be Jen from Johns Hopkins. Again, our title sponsor for today's event. So we're happy to have Jen kind of kick things off from our guest list and get things started.
Yeah. So I think, obviously, it's interesting. I always wondered how schools decide when to do these decisions. Like, how do is it just a certain number of days from when they, kind of have had their application deadline, or, what's driving all this? And obviously some of it is also linked up to the fact that they do these welcome events. So typically in April, a lot of these top schools will have like a weekend where you come to the school, get to listen to lectures from some of the best professors in the program. They wine and dine you. You get to meet your future potential classmates, and so all these welcome events, admitted student weekends, are fabulous. I mean, it's a definite must if you can make it. Great way to get a sort of initial taste of a program that you're considering. And we even have a tip on our website about how to make the most of an admitted students weekend. And also, classic question. I'll just ask this one to you, Mike. Let's say I got into 2 schools, and I'm leaning towards one, but I'm not exactly decided, but I have a favorite. And then I have
Mhm.
another that I'm still kind of interested in. And let's imagine they both have the same date for the welcome event. We have an admissions tip that tells you which welcome event you should attend. Do you want to guess which one it is?
The one that you're most interested in going to?
Yeah, that's right. And the issue is that if you go to the one when you go to these events, one of the downsides, or it's not really a downside, but one of the risks is that they're so much fun and they're so amazing that you're going to want to go to the school that you attend, you attend a weekend for. And so if they're at the same time, go to the one that you already are kind of leaning towards. But obviously, most of them are spread around, and so you can often, hit up a few in a row on different weekends and stuff. So in any event, hopefully that's a problem that people have where they, are invited to multiple admitted students weekends because it would mean they're kind of got multiple offers of acceptance, right? So, and I see you got
Mhm.
another entry that came in, right? And then, oh, there was a question.
Out of Spain. Yeah.
Colombia. People really want to know.
Of course, they're not on the stream. So one person got into Kellogg who is watching us. This person who asked the question, clearly they're not watching us because we already kind of mentioned
Right.
what's going on with Colombia. I actually wrote
Yeah.
back to them while we're here saying, "Yep, it's today." So, hopefully
Yeah.
that person will get some news later on today. But yeah, and Graham,
You're
one
actually
thing with the,
posting to Livewire. You gotta pay attention, Mike. You doing two things at once.
you know, more than two.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
one thing about the admit weekends, though, I think there's a lot of questions sometimes of like international students who receive those invites to those weekends, and it's expensive sometimes to go and to get to those things. So what about the folks who can't make it? Is there like a detriment to missing those weekends, or is it kind of okay? And there might be other ways to connect.
I mean, there certainly are other ways to connect. Coffee chats and cocktail hours in your city. Schools will do all kinds of things to connect you to the community. There's often a lot of, virtual stuff happening too. So yeah, by no means are you excluded if you can't make it. I
Yeah.
think one of the nice things about going though, if you can go, is that you might meet, future roommates or, just even. I still remember one of my closest friends at Wharton was someone I happened to meet at the welcome weekend. We just hit it off, hung out for a lot of that weekend, and then it turned out we were just not. I mean, just coincidentally, we're put into the same cohort, which is that group of 60 students that you travel through the core curriculum with at Wharton, and a lot of schools do it this way. So yeah, it can be really nice because then when you arrive for school, you sort of have this sort of ready-made, at least a few friends. So it's not like you're
Yeah.
totally alone showing up. But yeah, all right, cool.
Kind
So
of
yeah,
like when
nice
they
to
have the
see. Yeah.
when they have the optional orientation before like undergrad even, right? It's like you sometimes go or you're like, oh, actually I'd rather go to like this extra graduation party for my other high school friends. And it's like, no, like maybe go so you can like meet two or three
Yeah.
people if you can make it. A second watch party viewer who has posted they got into Kellogg. So congratulations to this person as well. Another top score. I mean, we got some high scores getting in here, which is amazing. And then
Yeah. Awesome.
we've said this
Oh,
earlier,
bummer.
but
Someone didn't
not
get in.
everybody's going to
Yeah.
get in, right? So it does sting. And you know what? You did put a lot of work into it. And so live in those feelings. I totally get it. Hopefully you'll
I've been
have some
there.
other options in front of you. Yeah. I mean, we've all, right. We've all had that, whether it's an application to business school, an application to a different type of a school, an application to a job, right? Like sometimes there's something out there you
Yeah.
really, really want and it just doesn't work out. And we'll hear from some of our guests throughout the day that it doesn't mean your journey ends today with a reject, and not even at that school, right? Because there's always the re-app for next year. So if Kellogg is the place you want to go for this person or for anybody else who receives this type of news today, you don't have to give up on Kellogg because they won't give up on you. They will have the opportunity for you to be able to get in, reapply, go back for it, touch up your scores, touch up that resume, change the way you prepare for your interview, whatever it is, whatever little
Yeah.
aspect you think you could work on, and put your best foot forward again for next cycle. And, there are people who get into the program that way. Graham mentioned that earlier. That was your path, right? So
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, this is something that's very unique, I think, about business school, which is that it's a application process that does not look down upon reapplicants. I cannot say that about a lot of other school types, whether that's undergrad or law school, medical school. Business schools seem very open historically to people reapplying. It's also somewhat easy to sort of improve your profile, in terms of like getting an extra year of work experience, some new leadership opportunities, maybe clarifying your goals, getting a new test score. Like there are lots of things you can do to shape your candidacy. So yeah, I think it's not all is lost. Now, obviously, this person who got rejected at Kellogg, presumably they've applied to other schools. We always recommend, applying to several. So it's hopefully not the end of the line for them, and they have some other opportunities coming. But I definitely feel that sting. I remember the first time I applied to business school. I did not get into a lot of the schools I applied to, as I said earlier, and yeah, you feel like you've kind of poured your heart and soul into these applications. I think most people spend dozens of hours on each application, getting it all ready from soup to nuts, right? So yeah, it
Mhm.
can be painful. But in any event, yeah, they're open to reapplicants, and always should be applying to multiple schools too. So, are we getting close to our first guest for today? I think we might be, right?
Yep, just a few more minutes away.
All right,
We'll get to
nice. Yeah,
them. We still have a couple more
and
Kellogg results coming in. If you are
yeah,
watching, obviously we've seen some folks already go and do this. So please share your results, whether it's good, bad, or in the middle. There's that wait list option as well. Let us know how you're doing. And here's why. So yes, it's tough to put any decision in. Obviously, you got to share some stuff. It is anonymous on Livewire for any result. So feel comfortable that you can put your info in. We are going to shout you out, but I don't know who this person is. I couldn't find this person on the web anywhere. Like, they're just telling us their scores and that they got in or out, right? But the other piece of it is it does help future applicants, because this data then gets aggregated into some of the tools we have on our site. And so people who are looking to apply in future years, they can go and sort through the Kellogg results and look at similar profiles to themselves and kind of see what their chances might be. We have other tools where there's little data plots in our data dashboard where you can see on the aggregate
yeah,
kind of how everybody does when they apply to this school. So more data points is more helpful for that. So yes, while it's not as fun to maybe put in a rejection, it is helpful and it does pay it forward. You're not obligated to do that, obviously. Everyone is kind of on an island, but you feel a little
yeah.
less on an island. You feel a little like you're not the only one doing it. And we've seen a few, different statuses just from Kellogg alone in the last 15 minutes. And this is what happens. So it's good to see, and it's good to see that you're not the only one who had that type of a result sometimes too. So
Yeah. And I was
yeah.
going to just add, I did see we got a comment on YouTube from someone wondering about rice, and
Hmm.
their results. And I just wanted to mention really quickly that I did a quick sort in Livewire, and I just picked rice and sorted for rice. And they did send out their decisions. There are a bunch of people reporting decisions in the last couple of days, via phone or via the portal. So if this person's looking for the decision, I would recommend they log into their online application, and it might be posted in there. So just as a heads up. But I see we've got Jen here. Hey, Jen.
Hi, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really. Hey, by the way, we said this at the top, but we're so thrilled that you guys are sponsoring this today. I mean, it's just so cool to have support. And I know you were with us on the first one we did back in December.
Yeah.
But also just lots of cool stuff hoppening at Carey. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that. But Mike was saying you guys did your last batch of decisions in early March, right?
Yeah, we're a couple weeks ahead of things. So our round two decisions went out on March 4th. So we've
Yeah.
already been engaging with our round two admits, having some welcome events. We'll be welcoming them all to campus next week. So we're really excited.
So on that note, I don't know if you were listening, but just before you came on, we were talking about welcome events. And would you be willing? So I think, we talked about how it sounds like you're gonna have your big weekend next weekend or something, right? But what are some of those other things that candidates can do to start to feel a part of the community at Carey before, kind of coming to an official welcome event on campus, or before matriculating and showing up in the fall?
Yeah, so we host what we call MBA preview days, and that serves as it's part of welcome event for admitted students, but it also is an opportunity for us to invite students that are still in the application process and are interviewing for the next round of things. So it is a mix of candidates. They do have some separate programming throughout the day, but it's really an opportunity for them to come to Carey. We cover their travel. And they can spend the whole day engaged with us, going to a class, meeting the students, the faculty, the staff, hearing about all of our different programming. And, then they go off site to have dinner and, some activities with the students later in the evening. So it really is a great way to experience firsthand the Carey community. And I think that makes all the difference if students are able to make it here. We know that's not always the case, so we do have lots of different webinars that we host during the admissions process, meeting with our different teams. So they'll hear from academic advising, they'll hear specifically about our Carey Career and Life Design Center, about experiential learning opportunities. But one of the things that I really love about Carey is how quickly that our enrolled students do get connected and are able to move to that next step. So for instance, those who were admitted in round 2 back on March 4th, if they've already, committed and said, we're coming to Carey in the fall, they've already been connected with our career officers. So they have been assigned a personal career coach. So the work starts now for them. So they're not waiting to get to campus in, August to have those conversations. We have a ton of programming that we do with not only the career and life design coaches, but, we offer a wealth of opportunities for them to engage with us in various ways and really become part of the community from day one, instead of, waiting for them to come in August.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know you talked with Mike and I last time, but I would love to hear if, like, how did it go back on March 4th, and what do you like about, letting people know? I mean, it's such a great moment, right? But take us through a little bit of what that day was like, because I think it'll help candidates understand, what it's like from the admissions side.
It's honestly one of our favorite days, and we actually do our calls the day prior to decision release. That way we can release decisions first thing in the morning. So all of our admissions officers are reaching out to the candidates that they've been working with the day prior, letting them know, hey, I have some good news for you if you want to hop on a phone call. And then they connect and they're able to talk through not only their admissions decision that they've been accepted, but talk through the scholarship awards and next steps. So it's funny because within our team, everyone does wind up working with the candidates in different ways, even though technically one person is assigned to them. So everyone starts to fight over who gets to make that call because everyone's just so excited to share that news.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, it just, for some folks, this is like a big, sort of the next chapter, right, in their life. And I know that, people say, oh, all the schools say these are life-changing programs, et cetera, and that's marketing, but it really is. I mean, I really think for so many people going to do an MBA, it just, in many cases you're relocating geographically, sometimes internationally, and you're, just tapping into an entirely new network, and it just, yeah, it's really life-changing. It's funny because I feel like on the internet, everyone focuses on, well, what's the job you got right out of school? What's the salary, et cetera. But, we did a piece recently on our website where we were talking to an alum from a program who I think was in his maybe 5th role. He's many years graduated, right? So he's in his 5th role, and he's like, you wouldn't believe it, but this role I got from an alum at the school that I attended for my MBA. So people talk about getting the first job because of business school, but people get their 5th job probably beyond because of this. So it's a real exciting moment. Mike, I don't know if you have any questions for Jen, but one thing I wanted to ask her, just one last thing as well, is just tell us a little bit about, I know that you guys have, a campus in Baltimore, but there's also a campus in Washington, D.C., and I know you have a variety of kind of different MBA offerings. So I don't know if you could give us just like the high level on like what's on offer and what happens where, because I think that would be helpful for people to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So our full-time MBA is based primarily in Baltimore, but what that means is really that just your first year, your classes are going to be held in Baltimore. Once you get to the second year, your whole schedule is really made up of electives, and that gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of not only the classes you take, but also the location. So there are students who have built out their schedule so that they can spend that entire second year in DC, or even take some classes in DC. We do have the MARC train, so a lot of students just hop on that each day. It's an easy commute. So people are always coming and going between our two campuses. And that's the full-time MBA. In terms of our other MBA programs, we're just launching our first class of the executive MBA. That'll start this fall. And that's a hybrid model, but when our students do come to campus, they will be based in Washington, DC. And then for our flexible MBA, which is our part-time online program, there's no required residencies or in-person events, but they are welcome to come anytime to either of our locations, and we will host programming at both of them. So it's really kind of a fluid approach to, you'll have the opportunity to be in both places and take advantage of what both locations have to offer.
Got it. And for Baltimore, are you guys still down on the Inner Harbor, like right on the harbor,
Right
right?
on
It's
the
that
harbor.
beautiful.
I always
Yeah.
joke
Okay. Yeah.
it's hard to get work done some days because actually my office, I face a wall. Like I set that up myself because if I face the windows, I'd be like, oh, there's a boat.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Yeah.
it's such a gorgeous location and just such a walkable area of the city. So, students will leave between their classes and, you can take a run around the Inner Harbor. Great restaurants right here. The neighborhoods that our students live in are immediately adjacent to this Harbor East neighborhood. So it's a really fun area for young professionals. You can't beat it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that area. I know exactly where the school is. And yeah, Mike, anything on your side with regards to Jen and what's going on with Carey and all their offerings?
Man, on the spot. No, I think you mentioned also, I think you have that like, is there like a rooftop portion of that building as well that you've mentioned that you can't, yeah, like you've said, like I would never be able to go up there. Not me, but like you working, it's like distracting to be, yeah, all these schools on like lovely scenic areas. It's got to be tough. Like that's gonna be part of the decision, right? It's like, am I able to study? It's like, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's funny is as we were planning our programming for this upcoming visit day next week, we always give a tour of the school, and one of my team members was like, well, why don't we give an aerial tour? Like we take everyone up to the 24th floor because it's a 365, you see the whole entire city. And that way you can point out the different neighborhoods. You can see, our Homewood, our undergrad campus from there. You can see medical school from there. And when I started building out the agenda and I sent it to our marketing team, they're like, can we change the name Ariel? Because I feel like they're going to think they're like going up in an airplane or something. So
helicopter
we're
tour,
a panoramic tour from our 24th.
Nice.
But yeah, that is an incredible space. Once the weather does get nice, they open the doors so you're able to go sit outside, and you really can't beat it. And the same thing about our DC location, right there on Pennsylvania Avenue, rooftop, you see the Capitol building. Yeah.
So one last thing too that I was kind of hoping you could just like shed a little bit of light on relates to kind of science and technology. So, I think of Hopkins obviously is a really renowned institution in life sciences. And I'm also thinking a lot about technology. I know that the MBA and your other kind of management offerings are very much tech forward. So I just wondered if you could speak to any of that stuff, because I feel like it's it's got to be on the radar for candidates who have interest in those domains.
Absolutely. I was actually fortunate enough just last week, I got back from a week-long trip to China. I was traveling with some of our faculty and our dean, actually. And Johns Hopkins, we're celebrating our 150th anniversary this year. And what was really nice to hear from the dean, he was explaining, whether it was to our admitted students or alumni, or we met with employers, different universities out there, was really how Johns Hopkins University in general was founded, with this really entrepreneurial approach. It really was the first university of its type here in the United States. And that has really translated directly to what we're doing here at Carey. We are a young business school, but that does give us a lot of opportunity and flexibility, and we really take that entrepreneurial approach. So one of the things that we talked a lot about in our visits with our faculty was just how much we're integrating things like AI into the curriculum. But then also we have this wonderful partnership with what's known as the Johns Hopkins Technology Ventures, or JHTV, which is, it's not Carey specific. So it's a centralized hub for all of Johns Hopkins, which makes it a great opportunity for our students to engage with students across the Johns Hopkins ecosystem and collaborate on projects. So you do have students coming from a variety of different backgrounds, but within JHTV, they're able to come together and they're partnering with students from our Whiting School of Engineering or the medical school. And there's been so much innovation to come out of JHTV. We have a PAVA Center for Innovation, just so many different opportunities within that center itself. But the one thing we really do just want to highlight to those looking at Carey is, yes, we are a young school, but that does afford us a lot of opportunities. Like, Johns Hopkins 150 years ago, we really are trying to start something new and fresh and come with a new perspective to how we approach business school.
Yeah, I think that's a big advantage, because not only do you have a parent institution that is world renowned, 150 years, old, but you've been able to build something that, maybe isn't entrenched in like the way management used to be done, which we're seeing now. Obviously, schools right and left are needing to totally redesign, how they teach, right? Because of AI and all these other great innovations that are taking shape. So anyway, I know we're putting you on the spot with all these questions, but I just thought it'd be good for folks tuned in to learn a little bit about what you guys have on offer. Last thing, and then I think we need to run because you have another guest coming up. But last thing, are there any more deadlines to apply to the MBA program for this year, or have they passed?
Yes, absolutely. You can still apply. We do keep our application open. At this point, it is on a rolling basis. So there is technically a round 4 deadline on May 27th, but we encourage students, if they are still interested in the process of applying, there's no need to wait. So if you're ready today to submit, we're in the process of reviewing round 3 applications right now, but I'm happy to throw those applications in and get those reviewed with round 3. So no reason to wait, but we will take applications through May 27th.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it sounds like obviously probably the earlier you apply, the better off you might be, right? If you guys are filling up the class. So, all right, so that's good to know. Appreciate it. Mike, anything else before we let Jen get back to work? She's probably got a lot of files to read, it sounds like.
Yeah, got to be hustling, right? No, thank you so much for joining us again. I know this is 2 times in a row, and for sponsoring as well, because it's huge to have some help in putting these types of things on. It's a 3-hour live stream, like we're kind of crazy doing this, but we have a good time.
I should have brought a snack. I didn't even bring a snack.
Yeah, I didn't plan
ahead. We're doing this. No, 3 hours.
Jen, you're hosting. Go ahead. This is the break.
Yeah.
Right. If you need later on to like come fill in, vamp for a little bit,
we'll let you know.
We'll call you back. You can be on the rooftop. Right. You can give us a live report.
I'll give that aerial tour. I'll just
aerial tour.
Perfect. Here we go. See, this is
YouTube aerials.
We do things on the fly. We just,
There you go.
Innovation, we'll call it.
Innovation.
Yes.
Innovation.
Thanks so much, Jen. Really, really appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Take care. See you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So Mike, what is it? Is Steve next what's next? I'm now totally lost our agenda.
Yes.
So I think it is Steve from Kellogg.
Popping up next from Kellogg.
All right.
Obviously right in the midst of a lot of reports of decision. So probably a lot can be shared here. We won't put him on the spot too much, but welcome on stage right now, Steve Thompson, Senior Director of Admissions, Northwestern Kellogg. How are you?
Good morning from Evanston.
Yeah. So we got to ask, I mean, the decision just went out for round 2. Can you just take us through like your day? Like, how does this work? Is Is there like a big red button that gets pressed and then all the decisions go out? Like how does this work from the inside? And you guys have in theory been reading files for many weeks now and teeing them up for this moment. But what are the steps?
Sure. So, we joke a lot of time. We say it feels like we're at, mission control and ready to launch a shuttle.
Yeah.
As you said, a lot of it's about all the work that goes in prior to this, not only in reading all these applications and interviewing and making some really difficult and challenging decisions, but then, checking. I joke on our operations team that we hire for healthy paranoia as a top skill, which is a good one to have in the sense that, a lot of double, triple, quadruple checking to make sure everything's lining up. And then we get in early this morning, and through our CRM system, it is kind of like that red button, but the NASA feeling is kind of more the double checking and whatever it might be. 722 admits, yes. 722 admits. 530 waitlists, yes. These are random numbers I'm just throwing out there. And then they're released, and we all kind of hold our breath for a minute as we look at Livewire and Reddit threads and make sure there's nothing like that went
Wait, you
wrong.
guys
But
aren't are you seriously looking at Livewire over in the Kellogg admissions office? Is
yeah, we
that
want to
really
see,
oh wow. Oh, that's
we
funny.
love seeing how people react and
Yeah.
what's going on out there.
Oh, that's cool.
As you pointed out, I believe in the Livewire thread, or perhaps it was in Reddit. We don't make calls on decision release day, especially in round two. It's very challenging. We're on spring break here, and with the number of people we admit on this day, it's all hands on deck kind of situation. And so with spring break, it makes it challenging. So this gives us a little bit of more insights. Now, that being said, calls are going to start very quickly here with students, alumni, faculty, and engaging with our admitted students. So that's where we really start to give them the opportunity to ask their questions, learn more about the programs and others' experiences that have been through it before them.
Yeah, and Kellogg is a special place. I mean, we think a lot about that, the community, and the sort of just the graciousness of the alums and their kind of connecting with people who've been admitted and as you said, faculty, et cetera. What are the ways? So I know that you guys do sort of an admitted students event sometime. I want to say maybe next month. But tell us a little bit about that. But also, I was asking Jen earlier from Johns Hopkins a similar question around how do folks that have been admitted in this round get to connect with the school and start to just learn more and become a part of this community going forward?
Sure. So we know that for many of our admitted students, they're facing a really challenging decision. They probably have multiple amazing schools that they're weighing. And so for us, certainly, as I mentioned, those calls start pretty early. And then we try to facilitate additional connections if there's something more specific they'd like to learn about. But really what we do try to point people towards is our admitted student weekend. It's a Friday and Saturday. And my team does an amazing job at getting representation from current students, alumni, faculty, staff, really trying to put in front of them what we know are the most critical decision points and points of differentiation, so they can really understand what our community is like, what the culture is like. We want them to make an informed decision. And so we do our best to curate an experience on that day that allows them to walk away knowing confidently that this is where they want to spend the next 2 years or 1 year, depending on the program of their life, and what will ultimately be, a catalyst for significant change in the trajectory of their career, but also in their personal life.
So one thing I think about when I think about the matriculation process at Kellogg is and I'm going to get the name wrong, so I'm going to rely on you here, but there's a thing that you guys do, I believe, that involves admitted students who've decided to come, getting together and going somewhere before they start the program, right? Isn't there some sort of a track or you can tell us more about this, but I
Sure.
always thought this was a fascinating way to dive into a program. So maybe speak to that. And I'm totally blanking on the name of this program. But
Yes. So you're referring to Quest.
Quest. Thank you.
Yes. And, my first intro to Quest was previously before Kellogg, I was at IE Business School in Madrid, and we had long exchange students going to Kellogg, and they didn't participate in Quest, but they did come back talking about, we have to do this. Everyone talks about it. It's such an impactful experience. And then you learn about what it is and you realize that there's no way we can replicate this. And that's because our year two students, they organized well over a dozen trips, both domestically and internationally, for our newly admitted students to go on shortly after arriving. So you come to campus for a couple of days of orientation, and then you have the option of going on one of these trips. And there's different themes. One might be focused more on nature and outgoing. One might be more focused on the beach or, going on a boat. One is a mystery. You don't know until you show up to the airport. But this is done by our students so that people really have um, a big catalyst to start their experience. You leave this having some new close friends. And one of the reasons why you make such strong connections is on the first couple of days of this trip, there's rules in which you don't talk about where you're from. You don't talk about your career or your ambitions. We want to get to know the deeper conversations and aspects of who you are that usually take weeks to get to as you get comfortable with somebody. We make it a little uncomfortable initially. So you dive right into that. You make really strong connections. And then there's kind of the big reveal. You start talking about where you're from, what your career's like, even if your partner's on that trip with you. And so it's a really impactful and amazing experience. And then you come back to finish up orientation, having made some best friends, having really got an idea what this experience is going to be all about. And once again, I don't know if another school could replicate it. It's been in the making for several decades here. And
Yeah, wow.
students put into it is quite remarkable. As
I'm
well as
glad that I asked you. I'm glad I asked you about this because it is really fascinating. Now, could you tell us, I mean, obviously not the next one, but could you tell us, do you remember where some of the mystery trips have ultimately been to? Because that's such a random thing. You show up, you have no idea where you're going to go. Where have those gone to in the past, or is that a secret?
no, well, I don't know what it might be this year. I know, obviously you have to consider visas. And so we try to make it a place in which it wouldn't give away the secret ahead of time. So perhaps,
Okay.
it's more of a Schengen visa and, you're going to Europe, you don't know exactly where, or perhaps it's domestic and then really it's all destinations are possible. And then,
Right.
it's not complete mystery. It's, like if you're not really wanting to do hiking, then we're not going to throw you on a
Right.
trip where you're now going to Mount Kilimanjaro.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, such a great way though to bond, and I love the rules about not, hey, what are your career goals? Where are you from? They're like just getting into the real nitty-gritty of who you are, as you said. Question. So you said you guys are pretty busy because of spring break and stuff, and so it's really the faculty and alums and maybe current students who are going to contact those who've gotten in round two. And so is that something like, will everyone get a call or how does it work? I mean, do you guys just sort of go through the list? Is that how it's set up?
Yeah, we have matching done for every admitted student with both a current student and an alumnus. It's
Oh,
quite
wow.
a monumental task to get everybody aligned on that. But again, you alluded to it earlier, the culture at Kellogg, this pay it forward mentality. We have current students and alumni that remember how impactful that was for them to be able to talk to somebody who has been through it pretty quickly. And so we get the buy-in and we don't have a lot of hurdles to jump over in order to get these volunteers, which is great. And then on the faculty side, there's some special programs like we have Harlech Scholars, which is more focused on biotechnology and those who want to maintain a healthcare trajectory. And so we have faculty members calling off for that. There's some other scholarships that have mentorship from faculty. Those faculty members will call as well. And then, like I said, we look at the feedback we get from these calls and understanding, is there anyone else we can connect them with? Because once again, at this point, while we're in our yielding period, our main objective is to get all the information to this candidate that we can so that they can make the informed decision. And our hope is they recognize that Kellogg is where they want to have a life-changing experience. So, it's not a hard sell. It's really about answering their questions, showing them what we're all about and the resources that are available to them while they're here.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate you making time to talk to us today. I do want to ask, like, what do you do now? You've obviously spent a ton of time reading files and getting everyone to this point today where they can be alerted of their status. But do you dive right into reading the next round of files, or do you get a break, or how's that kind of play out?
Yeah, I mean, it slows down quite a bit after round two. Our round three application deadline is a week from today. And so we're
Okay.
curious to see what happens there. That's by far the smallest of all rounds, but there's years in which there's an uncertainty in the market where you could see bigger round threes than you're typically accustomed to. And so we'll see. Candidates, and I understand I'd be the same way. They typically wait till the last minute to submit their application. And so we want to have a good idea of what might be waiting for us until maybe Tuesday. And so kind of all eyes will be on that along with our newly admitted students. And then we'll see what round three looks like. But it's a lot to juggle. Everybody on the full-time admissions team reads application, everybody interviews, everybody participates in events and presents. And so at any given moment, there's always something exciting to get involved with.
And I guess I'm kind of curious. You're talking about, I'm thinking about the fact that everyone gets, if you submit a file, it's going to be read, multiple times before a decision is rendered. Do you have any words? I was talking earlier before you came on and joined us. I was talking a little bit about how one thing I like about business school admissions is that even if you don't get in, there seems to be a culture of openness on the part of admissions directors to people reapplying. And so I just wondered if you could say a word or two about, like, so somebody maybe is not feeling so great today because they didn't get in. At like, is Kellogg, I presume you see lots of people reapplying and that many of the people that you admit maybe are reapplicants. And, but I'd be curious to hear, like, how does the committee think of reapplicants?
Sure. We encourage it. We have a lot of people that reapply. Obviously there your strategy should be focused on what are the gaps that perhaps they're seeing that I need to fill. Now, obviously we don't give direct feedback, but seeking input from others, comparing perhaps your test score, your GPA, and the like against the class profile, understanding where are possibly the points of weaknesses. Because when we see the application come through and see that this is a reapplicant, we immediately go to the previous cycle in which you applied to understand what were we identifying as a potential hole. And then we're looking to see if you filled that. And so that's really where you want to focus your efforts, is identifying where maybe you fell a little bit short, and then trying to ensure before you apply the next time, you're filling those gaps in a meaningful way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I do think, yeah, it's that I was saying earlier, I think it's a nice thing about MBA admissions is that you can take a hard look at your file, go out, maybe retake a test or get some additional experience, think about your career plan, et cetera, learn more about the school that you're targeting and go back out there and be better the second time out. So hopefully those words are encouraging to anyone who didn't get good news today. It has been a lot of fun to see all the great results pop up in Livewire, seeing a lot of Kellogg acceptances and probably a lot of happy people out there. Steve, I know you're probably itching to breathe a sigh of relief and go and relax a little bit before you dig into the next round.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for making time to do this. I know it's a busy day, but it's just, yeah, great to have you join us for this.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you all for the work you do. And to everyone out there that got in, congratulations. For others that didn't get the answer they were hoping, reach out to us. We're happy to talk with you as well at different events we'll be holding and looking at your candidacy if you're thinking about reapplying. And if you're on the wait list, as we always say, we wouldn't put you on the wait list if we couldn't envision you here. The other side of that is a lot of it's about the stars aligning. While we don't have quotas, certainly, we're trying to create a dynamic class. And so as we fill in the holes through the summer, if you don't come off the wait list, it's not because we couldn't see you here. It's because we're looking for something very specific at that moment to make this as an enriching experience as possible for everybody. And so again, that's another, I think, indicator of we're encouraging you to reapply even.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think I always try to, some people will post, say they're waitlisted and they seem really like despondent. And I'm always like, wow, this means the school can envision you in the program. There's no
Right.
issue there, right? It's more just
Exactly.
fitting you in and as you say, the stars aligning a little bit. But yeah, so appreciate those words of encouragement. Yeah, and we'll be, I guess you mentioned being on the road doing events. I know that we're doing our big MBA fair down in Atlanta in May.
Right.
I think you're going to be there for that. So
I'm
I'm
looking
looking
forward to
forward to
it.
yeah, looking forward to seeing you there. And yeah, any candidates in that part of the country come out and hang out with all of us and Steve. And yeah, but appreciate you making time and say hi to the gang over in the admissions office at Kellogg. Really appreciate it.
Will do. Take care, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Mike, appreciate you getting all these guests. I know that we talked about this a little bit offline before, but I mean, it's a busy day for Kellogg. I mean, they literally just put decisions out. So I'm so grateful that Steve made some
Yeah.
time to come over and join us. So that was really cool.
It is funny. It's like when you reach out to the schools, obviously it's great to have a school like Kellogg who's putting their decisions out today. And sometimes schools are like, yeah, we need everybody. We can't join you. And it's like, I totally understand that. So I'm super thankful when, they're able to take a couple minutes out, come talk to us. And it was great to hear, honestly, that he agreed with a lot of the things we had discussed. We had that candidate earlier who said, they didn't get in and they were kind of disappointed and stuff. And it's like, well, there's ways forward. It doesn't mean your journey's over. So I think that was kind of cool to hear,
Yeah.
hearing the kind of differences between like where they're at today and then what round 3 may have in store. That deadline's coming up in a week. And already difference there between kind of just timelines with schools. Every school is so different how they approach all these kind of late round deadlines, right? With Janet Johns Hopkins saying there might be even a little more time beyond just round 3 and that final kind of deadline, Whereas for Kellogg, it's kind of more of a slower deadline for them, typically. Maybe not this year, but we'll see as that turns out next week. But yeah, lots of decisions coming in. I thought it was also cool that he mentioned they look at this stuff, right? So they're
they look at
checking out
Livewire.
the reaction. So that's another reason why it's great to put in here what's going on. It's the voice of the live moments in applicants' life here is being able to put it out there.
Great.
It's well organized, not to toot our own horn too much, but it's nice when we do hear from schools that they're paying attention, because it is anonymous, but it's nice to kind of hear the folks who are excited or not excited, or why, and what they may have thought happened in the process. So yeah, really cool stuff there from both guests so far.
Yeah, and I do want to just add that although there is another deadline for Kellogg in a week, obviously you have to wait a season to apply. So if you didn't get in round 1 or 2, you can't apply in round 3 in the same cycle. You got to wait until next season. But it was nice to hear those words of encouragement about reapplications. So yeah, and hopefully we haven't done an official plug for it, but we're going to be gathering together in Atlanta on May 11th. It's a Monday evening. We're being hosted very graciously by Georgia Tech Scheller in their new building, and we're going to have about 25 top MBA programs. I mean, it literally is the U.S. top 25 business schools that are going to be there. So this is the kind of thing it's maybe worth getting a plane ticket for and just joining us, because you will not find, Kellogg, who else is, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, all the schools are coming. They're all going to be there to meet with candidates. So I think there's lots of information about this on our website. So sign up if you haven't already and can get yourself to Atlanta, or if you're in the Atlanta area, obviously. What's next, Mike? What are we looking at here? We got still Kellogg results flowing in, I can see here, right?
Yes, this is someone who got into their
Colorado
MBA
Springs.
program. So a little different
nice.
there. But still posting, which is great. So thank you to that person who kind of figured out a way to post that result and make it fit. This person who mentioned their scholarship amount that they received, also got into Kellogg.
Congrats.
Little plug from a group we'll have later called Juno about financial aid. We kind of mentioned that at the early top, but you can see some of their ads kind of flowing through as well. We'll talk to Diego about what they can do for these students who maybe didn't get a full scholarship or didn't get any that are looking to still pay for these types of schools. We actually mentioned Foster early on, saying there may still be some Foster news that trickles in. This is not a new data point. This was on March 20th, a few days ago,
Friday.
But somebody who is posting their result.
Congrats to them. Very good stuff.
Yeah, their listed deadline would have been the 27th. So again, Foster always a tad bit early. It was actually funny. I hope you won't mind, but we always do a little predictor type of a post on Reddit saying what we think is going to happen with certain schools and how they're going to release and when they're going to release their decisions. And for Foster last year, even though they said the 27th, it was about 10 days or so early. So I put that on Reddit. I said, hey, it's probably going to come out on the 20th. It's going to list the 27th. I got a note on the 20th from Brent, one of their admissions directors, who said, hey, get your notification post ready. We're going to go live today. And I wrote back, I said, yeah, we already knew that, Brent. We were on it. We have it ready to go. So it was pretty funny how, we do try to do our best, like I mentioned, to get this news out there for folks and do days like today where we can kind of share the news live as it's happening. So yeah, lots of Kellogg news happening as we go through.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Lots of stuff coming in. So I don't know what I know we have a packed roster of guests because we're still going to hear from Duke and Berkeley, right, and Colombia, folks in the admissions office at all those schools coming up, and Juno and our friend Michelle from the Consortium. So lots to get to here. But yeah, this is exciting and really nice. Especially, I do love it when schools come on that are doing decisions on the same day. It just, you really get the feeling of you could tell Steve was excited about having just, released all the decisions. And there is that moment of I can definitely remember this from my days at Wharton. You want to make sure the worst thing on earth is to reject someone who you were supposed to admit or to admit someone you were supposed to reject, right? So you're always triple checking. That's why I was talking about NASA. It's making sure that, is everything functioning right before we launch here? Because we've seen it over the years, even on Livewire, we've seen all kinds of portal meltdowns with schools it doesn't come out when it's supposed to come out, or everyone on the wait list got a letter that was meant to go to accepted. I mean, all kinds of things go wrong. It's technology, right? I mean, this is just, part of par for the course. I think I remember many years ago there was like a top school who's, you know, like the portal wasn't working because too many people were on it, or, you know, there's all kinds of things that can happen, right? So
I mean, there's
anyway, they've
a
all
kind of
been
new phenomenon
yeah.
now that we see people try to do. And this is even going on today, where they're trying to read the source code behind the portal to see that something has changed in
Oh
their
yeah.
status, and they're trying to guess that that change means that they're either in or out or not. And it's like, I always
Mhm.
recommend to folks, don't do that. Just wait. Like, it's okay to wait. Be patient. You'll get your decision when it comes out. You know, there's so many things you can put through your head. So trying to dive into that type of stuff and that type of detail,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know. It's just, to
definitely.
me, it's
Yeah.
like a little extra. Just wait.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fine.
I do. I do want to mention, yeah, some people got in trouble for doing something like that many years ago. They were like sort of, you know, trying to read the source code of a website. I think it was HBS, right? And they were trying to, you know, figure out if they were in or out, and they got in big trouble for sort of basically hacking the site, even though it wasn't sort of hard to describe it as a real hack, but because it was just like a glitch on the coding side rather than someone actually having to hack into the site. But yeah, crazy stuff. I do want to mention we are live here on YouTube, and if people have questions or just want to put in a shout out that they got into a school, you know, you can leave comments on the live stream here, and Mike and I are trying to keep one eye on that while we're juggling other stuff. But yeah, so I haven't been paying as close attention to that. But Mike, I see you probably have like 5 screens set up in your house there, right?
I have a electron overload. I mean, this actually, I could have set up in a different spot. March Madness basketball, those of you who follow NCAA, I like
Oh,
to set
right.
up so I can
Yes.
watch all the games at once.
There you
I
go.
call it electron overload because it's like too many TVs. So I should have just set up in the other room where I have all that still set up from last weekend. And I really could have had like a production studio. But yeah, I'm looking at the chat. We actually just had, I'm going to say Michelle as the username here. Anyone waiting for CBS? Yeah, Michelle, we're all
I think
waiting
everyone
for
is.
CBS. I think
Yeah.
we're all on that page. And again, it will happen. What I can say with certainty, it will happen today. So that we know.
I'm saying noon. I'm gonna go with noon. That's
All
my
right.
prediction.
See, now
Yeah.
if we were doing, what is all that? All these prediction markets that are out there now,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
the new
You can
betting
bet on
thing.
anything.
We should put
Yeah.
up there, like, is it going to be before or after 12 p.m. Eastern? We can
Yeah.
get some good action, I think, on that.
You know,
Oh, that could
before
be
we go,
a new line for us. We can do some
there you
betting
go. Yeah.
markets
Do some
on.
betting on it. Oh boy. So before we go maybe to our next guest, I was gonna say I see this post at the top of Livewire, which we pinned.
Mhm.
We're running this survey right now for anyone thinking about going to business school or anyone who's already applied, or if you're, you know, even currently accepted and planning to attend business school. So if you can take a moment, these surveys are really valuable for us in the sense that it just helps us to understand the applicant market. And then we actually share a lot of this data with schools to help them, you know, just be to sort of help them shape their admissions process to accommodate today's candidates, right? So please take a moment if you have time. It's like less than, I think it's like a 5 to 10 minute survey, so it's really not a big time commitment. And we are giving out Amazon cards to 25 random folks who take the survey. So you can do that. Just hit Livewire, go to the survey, get it done. We really appreciate it. Think of it as just a way of giving back to, you know, Livewire being free for everyone. We just really appreciate it. So yeah, and decisions continue to come in here. Oh, what's this? No, now you're on Decision Wire. Yeah, okay. So
Trying to see
no
if there's
one yet.
anything
So
new. Checking
yeah,
it
I was
out.
kind of
Yeah.
wondering if like sometimes what happens is, you know, someone gets into a school and right away they know they're done. You know, they go to Decision Wire and they're like, I got into my dream school. That's where I'm going. And so they
Yeah.
just post their result there. But
Yeah.
not yet. I understand people are probably still running around shouting screams of joy with their Kellogg acceptances and Berkeley and other schools that are giving out decisions today.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll keep monitoring that. So yeah, to Michelle in the chat, we'll monitor CBS for you. If we do see any news on Colombia, we'll obviously put that front and foremost. We will interrupt guests if we have to, because I know that's kind of like a big thing we're looking for.
Okay.
Harvard is about an hour or so away from our estimates. And then throughout, we still have all the other schools that we had mentioned earlier. So we can put that back up in a bit and show everyone kind of the schedule for the rest of the day. But in the meantime, we can probably go to our next guest who is available and ready.
Oh,
And so we
cool.
can
A
put up
little
a
bit
quick
early.
little intro
All right.
here for Morgan Griffin, Associate Director over at Duke Fuqua. I always want to make sure I say correctly. And Graham, I know
That
you,
was
Morgan, correct me. Did I like murder that or was that okay?
No, that's right. The easiest way is we're not a one qua or a two qua, it's a few qua.
Oh,
There you
I
go.
love that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I need to remember that.
Our wonderful
So,
multimedia department did a whole video about it, so you can go find it on YouTube after this party is over.
Oh, I love that.
all
Yeah,
right.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. So how are you, Morgan? It's been a little while.
I know, I'm doing great. I am so excited to be here. When you guys invited me, I was like, yes, I would love to come to a clear admit decision release party. So we're
Yeah.
excited. We released decisions, gosh, what was it? A
10 days
week?
ago, maybe?
10 days ago, yeah, the 19th. And it's
Oh,
been
not
great. We
even.
have
Okay.
so many admitted student events going on. So no sooner are we done with round two, we're still staying busy with things.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. It was only last Thursday. Okay. So,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about how do you guys do it? Because I mean, we see the entries come in on Livewire, but do you guys phone people? Are you doing a portal release or is it both? Like, how does the process work?
Yeah, so we call all of our admitted students. So for us that are calling international students, we try to wake up as early as possible, but we personally phone call every single person that is going to be admitted and let them
Wow.
know that later in the day your portal will switch over. We use Slate, so it's a very nondescript email that goes out of your status has changed. And
Right.
so I always tell people if they're admitted, like don't think like we messed up or anything. When you click on it, there's then confetti and everything. But it's really cool to get to call our admitted students and talk with them.
So is it like are you all, I mean, how many of you are making these calls and it must take at least a day. I mean, you've got lots of calls to make and as you said, different time zones, et cetera. So are you all in the same place? You're doing these from home? Like, how does that work?
Usually we're doing them from home. So we have a lot of our contract readers. We sometimes pull in people from other admissions team members, but all the what we call daytime counseling team, Sherry, we are usually all home. Back in the day before the pandemic, we would all be in the office with our doors shut and just, picking up the
Right.
phone. But usually we're waking up early. I know my wonderful colleague, Jessica Brown, she works closely with applicants in Korea and Japan. So she usually calls hers our time the night before, but for them it's decision release date. So as soon as we get our call assignments, she's usually up, staying up late to start making those phone calls. And we try
Wow.
to get them all done by the middle of the day. So we hold out to be able to call, people on the West Coast and beyond, but usually by like 1 o'clock, we are done making phone calls.
And any great, like, I don't know if you're willing to share, but any like, do any calls come to mind? Because I know we've talked about this in the past. When we did this in December, we had a bunch of admissions directors come on and talk about their experiences. And
Mhm.
I mean, have you ever had somebody cry or, any kind of crazy stuff happen or people who are like, I can't talk right now, like they're at work and no one knows that they applied to business school or like anything jump into your mind when you think about this?
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps. I feel like when people ask me that question, like it's like a highlight reel that goes through my head of like all these great phone calls I've had. So I think what's really great about our phone calls, to give some context, is usually someone that is calling you has read your application or was part of making the decision on your application. So for me, I always like to equate it to, it's kind of like calling a celebrity, because I've known so much about this person. Our 25 things is such a great essay for us to really get to know people that usually we've connected with one of those random facts. And so when you get to call, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been reading about this person for weeks and was in the room when we made this decision. Now I get to share the good news. And so it's really exciting. I've had people, there's one, they're now an alum. They were a couple. They came at different years, one right after the other. But when the husband was graduating, they sent me a picture of graduation day, and then they sent me a video and they said, we don't think we ever shared this with you, but we recorded the call when Nikita, the wife, got admitted. And so I think to know that she was sitting on that for 2 or 3 years and then seeing that and just seeing, we don't get to see the reactions. We hear the reactions, but we don't get to see, and just seeing her face light up and everything. It's a call I always go back to, but I've called people and they said, you've changed my life. I had one person, she is an alum now as well. She said, are you sure you made the right decision? Like, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm not kidding. Like it is here. And so we've had people say, you know, life decisions. I've had people, you can tell we're on speakerphone, and you then all of a sudden just hear the whole family erupt in excitement, or partners and spouses, kids I've had. You can start cheering in the background. One call, I called somebody, they were in the military and they were like in a special training, like out in the middle of nowhere. And to your point, Graham, they were like, oh, that's really cool. I can't talk. I'm in a military exercise, but I'll call you back. And I'm like, you don't need to call me back. You do what you need to do. And thank you for your service to our country. But they're
that's
always
funny.
great phone calls. There's times that I've stayed on and just cried with somebody. So it's, um, I like to say it's as exciting for us as it is for them, but sometimes you can really feel over the phone. I'm like, oh, we need to like probably check on them later because they are just so excited and just overwhelmed with emotions. So
Yeah.
it's exciting for us too, especially when we've invested so much time into getting to know that person.
Morgan,
So I
one
do
way
want. Yep.
we can
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
gather some more of those videos is like, let us know someone who's going to be called. We'll go to their house and
Yeah.
we'll capture it on our side on the stream next time.
Yeah. Like
really
Publishers
create-
Clearinghouse. Like you show up with the
Exactly.
big
Like, hey,
check.
Come on, get on the phone. Yeah. And I hate to do this for like 2 seconds here, but I do want to make sure that people are aware that Colombia did release their decisions right now.
Oh, okay.
So just
wow.
gonna put
So
that
that-
out there. So it's up and it's
So I was
out, and
wrong.
we were
Right.
wrong. We would have
Yeah, I
lost
bet
over under
noon.
bet. And we're gonna jump right back to Morgan here, but just want to make sure because I did promise we would interrupt if needed. Sorry, Morgan, for that.
No,
but,
I heard that warning. So, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
No matter getting into any MBA program is really exciting.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
celebrating. So, congratulations.
yeah.
So, Morgan, I do want to ask you. So you mentioned, you know, that you feel like you really have invested and know these candidates that you're calling. And one of the things you pointed to was this 25 things essay. And I think there are probably some people tuned in who haven't applied yet, or, you know, kind of thinking about business school. And so I just wondered if you'd say a word or two, because I love that essay. I think that is such a fun exercise. But just tell us so that everyone can kind of fully understand what you mean by getting to know everyone, because it's a very interesting prompt.
Yeah. So it actually started as a way, Sherry Hubert, when she came to Fuqua, started this, and it was a way that we were getting to get to understand when new people start in our office. That first few weeks is always awkward. You're trying to learn, meet people, and sometimes it's just finding connections. You hear someone say, I like the same TV show, and you're like, okay, I can talk to that person, and we have a common interest and a sense of community there. And so we thought, like, you know, the MBA application is about building community. That whole experience is building a community, building a network. And so we thought, how do we get to know our applicants better in the application? And so the 25 things is we want to know 25 completely random things about you. And it doesn't, we don't want you to say like, hey, I work at this company. Like if I was writing mine today, I wouldn't say I work at Duke University because you would see that on my resume, but I might talk about how I was raised a Duke fan. My mom went to Duke. I ended up going to NC State, go Wolfpack, but I talked about that in my essay. So it's a really cool thing. And you never know who's reading your 25 things, obviously, that they're going to pick up on one of your facts that maybe really resonates with them. And there's been times where I made an admit phone call and told the person, I had the same experience. I know what you were trying to convey. And they said, really, that was the last fact I threw in there. I didn't think that was that interesting. And I'm like, but it was, and it makes those connections. And it's really great too, because then at orientation, people can submit their favorite fact that they submitted about themselves, and we read them aloud and everything. And so it's definitely something that follows students. It sometimes can even be the thing in the application of, oh, this is that person because of their random fact. But it's a great essay. I love it. I have learned so much about people. I have laughed. I have cried. I have celebrated reading 25 things. Sometimes people include links to, we've had people who started dog Instagrams, and I can get lost on a good Instagram. And so what normally takes me an hour to read an application, I'm like 2 hours deep then. And I'm like, okay, I got to get off Instagram and back to this application. So it's a great way to get to know people, and just that you wouldn't get from reading a resume or from a test score or a letter of recommendation. So we love that. For anyone that is looking to apply next year, I would bet everything we are not changing that essay anytime soon.
Yeah. And probably the kind of essay that if you're writing it, it's a good one to just sort of take your time with and, kind of start making a list. You might want to have 100 things that you narrow to 25 or something as you kind of go. Yeah, I love it because it just feels like a place that you could just throw in something like really random, like, I was sitting behind Quentin Tarantino at the premiere of Pulp Fiction or something, like just like
Right.
random things that like go on a
No
list
relation.
yeah, no, I know. Yeah, no. I
Well
didn't think about
played
that.
there.
Yeah. But still, yeah, no, it just feels like everyone has those few kind of fun facts and yeah, so that's really great. Tell us a little bit about so you guys admitted people, I guess that would have been last Thursday or so. When is your kind of big welcome event and what can people look forward to who've been admitted? Like what kinds of activities and ways to start engaging?
Yeah. So what's really exciting is today we are hosting what is called Fuqua Around the World. It's a global networking social that happens on one specific day a year, with the exception this year, and I'll get to it, where we host kind of meetups with alumni and admitted students and current students in countries all around the world. So right before I joined here, I was talking with my colleague, Jessica, who I mentioned before. She just wrapped up in Seoul, South Korea, with a Fuqua Around the World. So we're hosting that today, which is really cool. It's really fun to look at the Instagram and see the pictures come in from all these different cities. The one exception is Sherry, our Associate Dean of Admissions. She has traveled to India. So she is, I think, actively at the Fuqua Around the World in Bangalore right now. But yesterday we moved the one in New Delhi up so she could attend that one as well. So
Wow.
they
Oh,
got a
that's so cool.
very special surprise guest. We have Allison Jameson, who is in Lima, Peru, Suzette Feller, who is in Shanghai. And then we have several people traveling domestically today. So hopefully they get through TSA without any problems. But
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
so we have
Yeah.
that, which is really exciting and just a great celebration, especially on the heels of round two. It's so close. It's like a nice way to go meet some of your
Sure.
classmates. And then we do have our Blue Devil weekend in April. So that is where people get to actually come to campus, come see where, they'll spend the next 2 years of their lives and meet with their classmates, meet with current students, faculty, the Career Management Center, and really just, so much for the MBA application process. You're going through it, with the lens of like, okay, could I be evaluated, or I'm learning and how do I apply? And this is a chance to finally come to an MBA event and feel like I can celebrate, this is my home, and experience Fuqua in a different way. So even people who have come for campus visits or, one of our other events, it's nice for them to come back and say, okay, I'm not so stressed now. I can celebrate and meet people, and it's put on by our students, which is really great. So every year it kind of morphs into something a little bit different, and they incorporate different things. So that is really great. Sometimes I know you guys were talking about the NCAA tournament. Sometimes we've had Duke playing in the finals. So that's always been fun to watch and kind of have a good like Duke watch party during our admitted student weekend. So won't line up this year, but
The
Aren't
Boozer
they in
boys.
aren't they currently in the tournament and still alive?
Yes, they
Right?
are. They're
Yes.
playing
Yeah.
St. John's on Friday. I'm like super nervous. They beat Kansas, so I'm a little
Yeah, I
nervous.
did see that, yeah.
But go Blue Devils. We are cheering them. But this year our admitted student weekend falls a little bit later, so we will miss getting to watch the tournament during Blue Devil weekend. But we are excited, and hopefully we can celebrate that win as well.
So I had two more quick things for you. So one is, I know it's around the world day for Fuqua and everything, but you don't think that everyone has just stopped in their tracks to tune in to you, Morgan, on this little session with us? Like, isn't Sherry just like, hey, hold on, applicants and accepted students. I'm going to pull up a chair.
They're
and
streaming
tune
it in
the
New
live
Delhi.
stream. Yeah.
Hopefully I'm like on a big screen somewhere. So hi to everyone who's
town
got it pulled
square.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But the other thing is on the YouTube live stream, someone actually posted that they were waitlisted at Duke. And I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm just kind of curious, like, what would you say to someone, not this person in particular, because
Yeah.
we don't know their specific case, but like if I'm waitlisted, is all lost? I mean, we were talking about this a little bit with Steve from Kellogg earlier, and he had a pretty optimistic kind of view, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like, what would you say to someone who's in that position?
Absolutely. Waitlist is I hate to say great place, but there's a lot of silver linings in that. So it's not a no. And it means that we do see something in your application that we say like, hey, we just need a little bit more time to maybe flush this out or get some more information from you. So the biggest thing I would say is reach out. There should be an admissions counselor listed in your portal that you can reach out to. You can set up an office hours one-on-one with us. We have different group office hours. But the wait list, those people are the ones who, when they're on the wait list and they're really wanting to go to their dream school, they tend to be the ones that when they do get admitted to that program, if they are lucky, they then come into the program and they are the most active people in the Fuqua community. I remember a couple of years ago, there was one student, he was on the wait list. He applied in our early action and held on till June. Or actually July. And I
Wow.
finally got to call and admit him. It was the Friday before orientation started. And he came, he was selected as his class graduation speaker. And so these people, they've been MBA co-presidents. So I really enjoy people on the wait list because if they're reaching out, they're really eager to attend the school. They want to be there. They want to make a difference. And so I always say, like, please reach out. We're happy to chat. We want to, continue to support you through this process. And so we'll work with you on like what are good updates to send in, what would we recommend. And so definitely like do not lose hope. Like use this as like, cool, I get to share more about my candidacy because when sharing about, waitlist updates is what we call them, there's no word limit. There's no set essay question. You can submit anything and everything. We've had people send us artwork. We've had people write songs. We've had people that just have written really thoughtful letters or engaged more with the Fuqua community. And so, I definitely encourage like, stay in touch. Don't just sit there and say, I'll wait for, Duke or any school to reach out. Reach out to us. We want to work with you. And, but the wait list is a great place. Roughly 25% of our class are people from the wait list. So
Yeah.
all hope is not lost. So do not be dismayed. Get in contact with us. Any one of us would love to chat with you.
Yeah, and Morgan, I do appreciate you kind of shedding light on that because it's really, this is something that varies quite a bit from school to school in terms of how schools, I think being on the wait list is, as you said, it's a good sign for any program, but some schools allow you to, like in your case, have a phone call, learn about like what maybe you could be working on and be very proactive and send updates. Other schools are sort of in a kind of don't call us, we'll call you mode.
Yeah.
So it's important to know like the ground rules for the wait list. And yeah, in the case of Fuqua, it sounds like, yeah, absolutely. If you have not gotten on the phone and talked with, someone on the team there, that's the first step that you kind of should really take. But yeah, and also great to hear. That makes total sense to me that someone who's on the wait list would end up being, speaking at the graduation or, it kind of because, yeah, these are people who really wanted and had to persevere to kind of make their way in. So I think that makes a ton of sense. Mike, did you have anything else?
Super engaged. So they're a great group. And we realize that about people on the wait list too. So.
Yeah. Mike, did you have anything else from Morgan? I know she's got a busy day and we really appreciate you making time, Morgan, to come and jump on with us. But anything else, Mike? No?
Happy you were able to join us. Thanks for jumping in. And it sounds like there's a lot going on, especially this week over at Duke. So lots of ways to connect with the campus for all these incoming hopeful Blue Devils coming in the future. So yeah, congrats.
Yeah. Well, thank you for inviting me. Any chance I get to join, you two I will make time for that. So thank you for inviting me that we could talk and, congratulations to all those who were admitted to Fuqua. We're really excited. Hopefully you'll come in April. And, for those on the wait list, please reach out. You can reach out to myself and we'll get you squared away and see what we can do there.
Okay, perfect. All right, Morgan, say hi to the gang when they all get back from their round the world travels.
I will. Thank you all. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
So Mike, I know we have another guest coming up, but I did see there was a question in YouTube about whether Harvard's going to admit any round one wait lists in round 2?
Yes.
And the answer is they
Yeah.
will. Boy, the exact number, it varies quite a bit from year to year. Michelle's coming in.
Oh,
Yeah, so just to kind of wrap up on that thought, I think it is really hard to say, but I will say if you're on a wait list in round 1, that's probably a good place to be because round 1 to round 2 tends to convert quite a bit of waitlisters.
Yeah.
It gets
And
harder
then
as the season goes on, but it's, so I don't, it's hard to say what percentage of people who are waitlisted are going to get in though. I don't have a solid answer on that.
And I will say too, what you kind of alluded to also is if you're a round 1 wait list, you have an opportunity in round 2 and an opportunity in the future round beyond that. So like this is another tip for people who have not applied yet and are starting this cycle. Apply in that round 1. If you're here today and you're thinking about applying to business school, targeting round 1 gives you more opportunities to be admitted throughout the process before you then have to go reapply, and then you still have another 3-4 shots the following year. So, and again, it doesn't mean you're applying multiple rounds and evaluating you a million times, but if you're on a wait list, you're starting from somewhere. You're not just out of the process early on. So, yeah, something to definitely consider. But with that, we can introduce Michelle, who's a VP of Admissions and Recruitment over with the Consortium for Graduate Study in Management. Michelle, very happy to have you today.
Mike and Graham, it's always a great time with you too, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah, it's
including
great
me in your
seeing you.
awesome watch party. Yeah, great to see you too.
So I was really excited when Mike said that you were going to jump on just because I need to be educated a little bit about how the consortium works and how the kind of application process works specifically. Like, so I don't know if you'd be willing to just sort of take us through that because, I know that all these amazing schools on the screen behind you are part of the consortium and that candidates can apply to these programs, almost like a common application. But I want to hear it from you because after that, it's all a mystery to me. And I know the decisions don't always come out at the exact same time as the sort of candidates who've applied to those programs in the kind of normal process. So so take us through how consortium works and the mission, the process, all of it.
For sure. Thank you. So the Consortium for Graduate Study in Management has been around since 1966, so we're not new to this. Our mission is to increase access and representation for underserved communities in business education and leadership. So our strength is through our alliances of our 21 member schools. So when we started, we had 3, and we've grown to 21 that have all indicated a commitment to increasing access and representation. So yes, my background represents the amazing community of member schools that we have. And we also have a strong network of corporate partners, as well as over 12,000 alums that exist within the consortium ecosystem. So the way it works, we do have 2 deadlines. Our member schools align to those deadlines, which is great because if you're applying through the consortium, if you are a good fit, which means that you have either you identify with our mission or you have, activities in your life that align to increasing access and representation for underserved populations, then you are welcome to apply. And it is a common app, to your point. So you would fill out our application, which asks you a couple of questions about how you've demonstrated commitment to our mission, and then you can select which schools you want to apply to. Now, knowing that we're on decision day, some people here may say, I really align with this. I would love to be a part of this network. A couple of amazing things about the consortium. I used to work at Ross for over 4 years, as you guys know. I was the main partner for the consortium, and so being on this side now is truly aligns with the values that I was pushing through when I was on the admission side with Ross. But you do get to apply to multiple member schools through our application. We have an annual conference in May that our fellows can go to. And I think the other just incredible thing about it is you don't just create a network within your MBA program, but you have access to the network of 20 other schools and their fellows that you get to be a part of. So again, I'll wrap up by saying that if you haven't applied to the consortium, that's okay. We have a school referral process. So if you're admitted to your school, they are a member school, you can always connect with their admissions team and ask about the referral process, and you'll still be eligible to become a fellow and join that incredible community at the member school.
Oh, wow. Okay. That I didn't know. That's impressive. And when it comes to applying, you said there are 2 rounds. and it's kind of a common application. Does that mean like this seems like a real time saver for people too, because they could, in theory, get in several applications without having to do quite as much work as you would do if you were just applying on your own to each of these institutions separately?
Yeah, that's right. We use the recommendation letters that we push out to the member schools. There's also a financial component to it. So again, removing barriers to apply to these top MBA programs. We have discounted bundle rates, so at the end of the day, if you are looking to apply to multiple schools, you can do so at a lower rate than if you were to apply to each school individually.
Okay. Oh, well, that's great. Um, and then in terms of the timing, is the timing like it just they get the decision when that school's giving out decisions, or is there a
Yeah, I
specific?
realized.
Okay.
Yeah, I realized you had that
Yeah.
point that I forgot to
No, it's fine.
close the loop on. So yes, you apply through our application deadlines, and then the schools do their thing on the back end to bring you into their interview process and make sure that the decisions are released at the same time as their traditional deadlines.
Okay, that makes sense. I want to ask you to put your Ross hat back on for just 1 second and tell us about what it was like when you were in admissions on these kinds of days, where you're giving out decisions and I can't remember off the top of my head, is Ross calling people? Is it just a portal update? Or I mean, I presume there's some interaction with accepted students. And so any kind of memories you want to share of that? Because this is such a
Yeah.
great day for that.
For sure. Calling people was a highlight of being on the admissions team. So we would have our call days spread across 2 days, and we would spend the days just calling everyone. And my highlight is definitely when people would either just be so silent because it's shock, or when people start crying too. I'm a huge empath, so I would try to not make it about me, but I would start crying too because I know what a big deal it is to get to this point. So it's truly an incredible time, and I know everyone on this live stream has said just soak in the moment, but I couldn't drive that point home that you get to this point where either you get the decision you want, or maybe there's other things that you need to consider to continue to push for the goal that you have in mind. But either way, you are at a point where you're doing so much for yourself, and you should soak in that accomplishment for even having this goal in the first place.
Yeah, no, it is hard sometimes to step back and yeah, kind of smell the roses, if you will. But I think, yeah, it's a huge process, and I think people get so kind of wrapped up in it that yeah, sometimes you come to you get the results and you don't know what to do with yourself anymore. You have all this spare time now to where you're not worrying about where you're going to get in.
Only for a little bit though, Graham, because
yes,
and then people, it's always, oh, I got this school, but I didn't get this school, or now I'm in, and now I have to worry about prepping for business school, and now I'm in business school, and now I have to recruit, and so it's this continuous goal that just continues. The finish line keeps moving and moving and moving. So you have to give yourself the time to really just stop and be intentional about expressing gratitude to yourself for your accomplishments this far.
Yeah, definitely time to pat yourself on the back. And yeah, I mean, obviously in this current era that we live in and the way that kind of business schools have been changing over time, I think there is a lot of, like you're talking about, a lot of people want to go and do like a pre-MBA internship. They're already thinking about a career pivot and what they might do to sort of maximize that. When I went to business school, mostly people were planning to like, when am I going to quit my job and go on like a 2-month backpacking vacation across, the planet or whatever. So like it's changed a little bit. But it's, still so many great opportunities. I wonder, would you talk a little bit about, obviously there are going to be a bunch of consortium candidates who get good news, over the course of these weeks here with all these decisions. Can you just talk specifically about, like, are there ways that you're bringing them together as a group? Because I know that they'll probably go to their respective schools, kind of accepted students events, but it sounds like there's a really nice community within the consortium as well.
Oh yeah. So before, one of the differentiators of being a consortium fellow, I should have also mentioned, I realized, in addition to the streamline application, there's also fellowship opportunities as well. So that's something that I think I should definitely mention, because again, a commitment to increasing access, breaking down barriers, whether they're financial, time commitments. But another big draw of the consortium is that we have an annual, what we call OP. It's a conference. This year will be the four-day conference. It's taking place in Seattle, and we bring all the fellows together. First of all, to get to know each other, to get to know their admissions, their cohort, as well as the cohorts across the member schools. And they'll get to network and potentially interview and secure an internship with corporate partners that will be there ahead of school even starting. So that is something that I think allows our consortium members to also show up as leaders on campus, because you get to school, you already have a kind of a community, a safe space. And so, and you've interviewed over the summer, you come to school, hope maybe you have an internship, maybe you don't, but at least you have an idea of what it's like to start to learn how to interview again, how to recruit, because that's another thing, learning how to be a student and how to go through that interview process again is its whole nother ordeal that you have to acclimate to.
And Michelle,
Yeah.
that conference, when you bring them all together, is that only the new admits, or that's also the current students that are there? And are there any people who have maybe graduated from their programs also, or is it just the new students coming in?
Yeah, so it's new students, it's alums who are present, and every member school has what we call consortium liaisons. So it's maybe, 2 to 3 leaders on campus who are also invited. So you may have some of that touch point as well. But it's mostly welcoming the incoming fellow class. So this year in May, we will welcome the class of 2028.
So it's like twice the power of, because I think you go to like a welcome weekend at a school, you meet some people, you start to feel part of, that school's kind of community. But then, like you're saying, you have this like second opportunity, if you're consortium, to meet all these other people who are going off to a variety of, as you can see from the schools behind you, all top schools. So what a great way to tap into a broader network. And I think I heard you right. You're actually also bringing in employers to this
That's right.
Event, this board. So they're already getting access to employers, which I mean, that's a big leg up. That's great. So that seems like a terrific opportunity. Does it cost anything to do? Like if you you explained the criteria in terms of being aligned with the mission, but other than paying to apply to schools and things like that, there's no fee to sort of join the consortium or apply as a consortium candidate?
Yeah, so the application fee, and then we do have some travel fees that if you can demonstrate financial constraint, we are able to allocate some stipend. But aside from that, the conference registration is open. It's no cost to attend, and so basically travel, and we take care of lodging as well while you're there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
For folks kind of on the fence here, if you're thinking about applying to business school down the road and you are, kind of meet the criteria and align with the mission and stuff, it seems like a great opportunity.
Or Graham, if you missed it too, and you have that opportunity to go to your school and try to catch on now. I mean, that was something mentioned earlier that you can join after you join. So that's, so that's great, because it's good for people, because we don't know who knows about everything that's out there. So many different organizations or different helpful groups that are there to kind of help people through these processes, but it's impossible to know about all of them. So hopefully there'll be some people who join after the fact and get to take advantage of all the awesome stuff. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And I feel like I have heard current MBA students really like waxing poetically about their, their time at OP, this 4-day event that you're talking about. I feel like it really leaves a mark, and people forge friendships and stay kind of, really part of that group, which is great.
Yeah, that's right. So if you do align with our mission, you have demonstrated commitment to advancing these groups, I would absolutely say to connect with the admissions office of the member school you were admitted to, and ask about the referral process. It will be open until about May 11th. So there is some time left to be considered for membership. Of course, we will ask that you submit an application. We'll review it and determine your eligibility. And if you're approved, then absolutely welcome you to our consortium family.
Okay. Oh, that's great. I don't know if I have any other questions. I guess there was one thing I was going to ask you is, Is there anything you miss now that you're on this side working at the consortium versus being, I mean, reading applications at Ross and all that stuff? Obviously,
Yeah.
it sounds like you did enjoy giving news to people. But yeah, anything you miss about the old job?
No, I mean, I miss everything. Truly, I miss most of all the connections with students. So I think an incredibly rewarding part of being an admissions officer is you meet these students when they're 2 years out. A lot of times they say from applying, I mean, right? They're just at a fair or they reach out and they're like, I don't even know if I'm good enough to apply to one of these schools. And you're like, well, let's sit down, let's talk about it. And then 2 years later, they're a student and you're getting to involve, getting to watch them become leaders in the community and grow and develop. And I think just watching that full cycle of transformation is incredibly rewarding, but it's something that I also get to enjoy with the consortium and our upcoming recruitment cycle. So if there's anyone out there listening who, may potentially be a reapplicant and says, oh, wow, I didn't know about the consortium. I'd like to consider it now. Connect with us, go on our website, and we're happy to connect and start that relationship.
Yeah, terrific. So, Mike, anything else from your side? I know we're on like sort of a schedule, right? So I don't want to overstep, but Michelle, it's lovely to see you, and I appreciate you making time to come on and educate everyone a little bit about the great work that the consortium does, and ways that people can get involved. I mean, it's just, yeah, terrific, and appreciate all the details and walking us through.
Yeah, thank you so much, Graham and Mike. I can't emphasize enough how much of a good time it always is with the Clear Admit team. So thank you for doing this. And, I hope everyone receives great news today and that you understand that you have a path forward regardless of the decision.
Yeah, and I want to also just mention we've been talking a little bit about we're doing a big event in Atlanta in May, a
Yes,
kind
yes.
of fair with programs, and the consortium's going to be there too. So, and I don't know if it'll be
Yes.
you, Michelle, but
Yeah, it'll be me.
whoever it
I'll be
is.
there.
Oh, cool. So we will see
Yeah.
you there. So it's it's going to be a great time, and 25 or so top MBA programs plus partners like the consortium. I think Forte is coming, some others. So should be a lot of fun. Cannot wait. But Michelle, thanks for making time today. It's always nice to catch up with you.
All right. Thank you both. Take care.
All right.
Right.
Bye-bye. So Mike, what's been happening over on the site? Have you been keeping an eye? Because I was too captivated by all the stuff Michelle was sharing about the consortium to be looking at Livewire, but I see some Colombia stuff here now you've got up on screen. So I guess they're out.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I mean, awesome to learn so much about consortium, because I agree with you. Like, I hear about a lot of it all the time, but it's nice to kind of hear it all summarized in such a way. So I feel like that's a really good opportunity. What I didn't really learn about, what I learned today at least, I didn't know you could jump in after the fact. I thought it was like you have to apply through there and then you miss it. But the fact that you could actually find out about it at school and then kind of still join later and join the extra networking and all that stuff. I mean, that's a great opportunity. So really glad she was able to share all that. Yes, it is busy. We have some Colombia results that have populated in the last half an hour or so. A little bit of a surprise, right? We were expecting more 12 noon for them. They moved it up to 11 a.m. So
I think it's
Trisha
strategically smart. I think it's smart.
It's very smart. To me, it's smart because they're smack between the other two large updates today. And maybe that's something that they were paying attention to, because if we go back to that schedule, it's like 10 a.m. Eastern was Kellogg, 11 a.m. now ends up being Columbia, 12 p.m. is going to be Harvard. So every hour we have one of these big releases. So yeah, they kind of squeezed right in there, which is perfect. But lots of results for Columbia. We had a wait list at Kellogg that popped up who's actually applying to their JD MBA program. So not sure if they're waitlisted on both sides of that. A lot of times when you're applying dual degree, it's a separate application process. So never know.
I did see, I just want to give a shout out. I know I think you put something in the comments, but over on YouTube, there was someone named Serena who got an acceptance to Columbia. So congrats to that, on that acceptance. Great news. We love to see it. And obviously, if people have questions, I think we have a few minutes before our next guest is going to jump on. So if anyone's watching on YouTube and wants to ask us a question, obviously post away, whether it's about waitlist strategy or scholarship negotiations or how to decide, which school to attend. But yeah, as you were saying earlier, strategically smart of Columbia to be smack in the middle between, Kellogg and Harvard. You don't want to be at the exact same time as another school that's in your tier. I mean, it just, kind of can muddy the waters a little bit, right? So obviously the Livewire feed is now like sort of all Columbia and Kellogg, which makes sense because there's such volume of people getting into these programs and who apply every year. So yeah, good to see though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a lot happening, which is great. And thanks also because it was the YouTube chat. They kind of mentioned it like right at 11:01 or so. They were like, "Hey, I just checked and it's live." And I was like, "Wait a second."
Yeah.
So thank you to the group
huge.
helping us out here to kind of pay that information forward to us. But yeah, lots going on over there. Graham, anything else that you're thinking through a day like today? So we've heard from some good guests already, a few more to go. Harvard's coming up as well. What can people be doing as they're receiving these decisions next week included as well? Like what's kind of the next steps for people as they get through round two and have to think about like, what do they do now with all these decisions in hand?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing is, wait till you have all of your answers before you make any kind of decision because, scholarship can be a factor. One thing that's a little interesting is that schools like HBS, who are releasing today, and Stanford, who I think are next week, are need-based. So the very different process for financial aid. But I believe they all have these like kind of like a simulator where you can, put in your savings and your kind of financial situation, and then they can give you a pretty good estimate of what you might get if you're going to be a student in that program. Whereas the other schools, it's all sort of just merit-based, or it's sort of at the discretion of the committee. And so, yeah, and there's so many factors. I mean, I think if you're looking at schools, sometimes there's this tendency to go with the ranking, right? It's like, oh, I'll pull up the FT and US News and or just kind of aggregate all these rankings and be like, I'm just going to go to the school that's the number one ranked that admitted me. But I think people often overlook, like, it's almost like if you were to say to me, what's the best business school? I might have an answer, but if you were to say, what's the best business school, given that I want to work at McKinsey on the West Coast of the United States, I might have a different answer than if you said you wanted to work in investment banking in New York, right? So it really does matter what you want to do and where you want to live. Like, I know that these schools spend lots of money and time, sort of telling everyone that they're global programs, and they're known the world over, but the networks for most of these programs, I can't really think of any exception, are often strongest where the school's based. I mean, that's just kind of the sort of the facts, right? I mean, it's like, if you want to work in London, like London Business School is probably a pretty good school to be looking at, right? If you want to work in, Los Angeles, like you would be probably foolish not to at least consider UCLA, right? So just definitely thinking about these things and schools, is one that came up the other day is, if you're interested in like the gaming, like, kind of video gaming, not gambling, but, kind of esports, I guess we call it, right?
Sure.
So if you're interested in that, USC Marshall has this like fantastic reputation in that space. But you need to do the due diligence to understand that in order to make an informed decision about where to apply, but also where to attend. So, and the last thing I'll say is sometimes people get very focused on that. Well, where do I want to work and live afterwards? But they also need to realize that, in most instances, these are 2-year programs. So it's 2 years of your life. And so go somewhere that you want to live and where you're going to be happy. You might have a spouse or a partner that you need to take into consideration. So there are all these factors that go into deciding where to attend business school. And, you would think if you read just Reddit that it's like, well, no, you just look at the rankings and you pick the one that's at the top of the list, and that's not really how it should work. For all the hemming and hawing about like, oh, this school's better than that school, any of the schools that we've been talking about today, let's call it, US top 25, global top 50, whatever we want to call it, you're not going to go wrong. Like you can find a really successful career at any of these programs. So I'll kind of shut up there, but that's my spiel on like, how do you decide? And there are a lot of factors that should go into this, rightfully so.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think also you mentioned rankings, but the rankings are put together with a criteria that is not what you are looking for a business school and what you're looking for in your career. So they're great. It's nice to have something to the side that can kind of help put some things in order for you, but do your own research. Like you mentioned, there may be programs out there, or even not even just the program itself, right? Like you mentioned kind of the e-gaming thing with USC Marshall being a good connection. There could be like classes or little like excursions or business trips within a program. That might be the thing that you need. And so there may be a program that has that little aspect. Could be a 2-week immersed experience in the field that you're interested in a country that you're interested in living one day. And that experience alone may be worth the 2 years at that program. So definitely a lot of things that you should be considering, a lot of research that needs to be done. Thankfully, as you mentioned, there's really no bad choice. There's better and best choices. But at the end of the day, if you're getting into any of these schools, like you're making a good decision, you're bettering yourself at the end of the day. You're going to get a great education, a great network. You'll end up in a better spot. So that's the other piece too, is like, don't get totally bogged down by, I got into school 12 and 15 and I'm really stuck. It's like, you're in good shape. Like you got two great options.
Yeah, of course.
Like flip a coin at that point if you really can't decide, or like pick a cool city with something good going on, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's I think, that is something to consider, is just like, what are you sometimes the teaching methods and the size and the approach can really be different from one school to another. And it doesn't mean that one's better than the other, but you can think of some schools are small and they're in like a rural setting, and maybe they're very focused on, case-based, kind of teaching, right?
Yeah.
And then another school might be really large and more lecture focused. And so it's just important to understand kind of what you're getting into. Ideally, you would have done that due diligence when you made your list of target schools, but I know that invariably people are like, well, I'm just going to apply to these and then I'll have to sort it out at at the end. I know I like all these kind of, but it's definitely worth. That's why these schools do the welcome events, alumni outreach, coffee chats, everything they can to help people get sorted. But this has been so much fun so far. And I know we've got what do we have? Like 45 minutes left, and we're going to hear from Berkeley. We're going to hear from Diego at Juno. I think he's already backstage about to join us now. Right. And also Harvard decisions will come at noon. And then we're going to talk to Trisha, who's the director of admissions over at Columbia Business School. She's probably excited because now she's got all those offers out there into the world. So yeah, lots to come here in our final run. And you've got a little, there we go.
There we go. Michelle, so just as you're going through it here. So Diego will be coming up next in another minute or so here. And then we're going to have Meg and Trisha, as you mentioned, kind of closing out the day. We'll look to close at 12:30, but we'll see if things are going well with Trisha, maybe a little after. We'll see how things go at the end. 3 hours
is not into my happy hour.
Yeah. We're past happy hour. And I did see a question in chat, which we will cover. So I'll make sure we get back to you in the chat, because we do have our next guest available, who I want to welcome first. We already kind of alluded to here, but Diego, head of graduate students over at Juno, who is a financial aid partner, beyond just financial aid, but a partner of ours over at ClearMit. You're seeing their stuff all over our site. They're actually the ad on the top of our Livewire feed. So you've seen their ad a million times and have not clicked yet. We're going to talk about why you've made a huge mistake and you should go back and click on that ad. So Diego, thanks for jumping in. This is your second attempt at one of these decision days. So, but you did not bring, we're each down a person. So we had an extra person last time. You had an extra person last time. We're slimming down our roster to really focus on you today. So that's great.
Diego, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Graham.
Yeah, I appreciate you making time, Diego. And I just want to say, I am not one to click on ads that I see on the internet, but this is one of the easiest things to do ever, and I want you to explain what Juno is, because I think people get confused sometimes, or they think it's like you're trying to sell them something, when all you're really trying to do is make sure they're aware of a pretty amazing opportunity. So just take us through what it is. And it's kind of apropos that you're going to talk about this as we lead up to Harvard issuing decisions in 15 minutes, because Juno exists because of a couple of Harvard grads that came together to found the company, right? So tell us a little bit about what Juno does.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Like you said, basically Juno is here to help students for free, right? What we do is we just pull together as many students as possible, and we negotiate student loan discounts on behalf of students with lenders, right? Again, for free. So the challenge that we have is that we want to grow our group as much as possible, right? Because the bigger that group is, the more leverage we'll have with these lenders. So it's kind of a, help us help you message to students, right? The more you are, the better the outcome for everyone. Like you said, we've been doing that for, initially back in 2018, our two co-founders, as they were heading to Harvard Business School, they were trying to do that for themselves and their classmates. Turned out to be successful, and then we've been doing that ever since for the, helping thousands of MBA students year in, year out, and we've been able to negotiate more than $1 billion worth of loans. So all that to say that we know that business model works, but it only works if we have that, big group behind us. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're trying to do, and this year is no different from previous years.
Yeah, I love the business plan because it's so easy to explain. I mean, obviously the co-founders were heading, like you said, off to Harvard, and they were in a WhatsApp group or something, right? And they were just like, "Hey, is anyone trying to get a loan to pay for business school?" And somebody had the brilliant idea of like, well, what if we like got a whole bunch of us together and then went to the bank and said, give us a better rate than you would give one person individually. And, obviously people going off to top business schools, I'm assuming that banks like lending them money because they're kind of a safe bet, right? I mean, most people graduating from business schools do pretty well. So it's a really safe bet. And yeah, I love this idea. I know I see on our website, we have a little tracker, I guess, that, we're putting up little posts that say like this many students have already joined Juno who are going off to Yale SOM or who are going off to Harvard or, each school. And that number keeps growing. And obviously, as you said, the more students that take part in this, the better the rate's going to be. Because you guys get a lot of, what's the word? You just have bargaining power, when you have a large group. So yeah.
That's exactly right.
I did want to ask you a question that's total sidebar, but I know you did an MBA. If memory serves, is it Booth that you went to, Chicago Booth, or was it Wharton? I can't remember now.
It was Booth. By coincidence,
Booth,
I'm wearing my Booth jacket today.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm Booth, class of 22. Yeah, I've been with Juno since my summer internship. So yeah.
Okay. So what I want to know is, do you remember when you found out that you got in to Booth, and can you take us through that moment?
Oh, 100%. I think Mike's gonna laugh at this because I think I shared this story last time, but it was the middle of COVID, right? I got accepted around to March 2020, right? So it was kind of pandemic was at its initial peak. So anyways, I was working back at home and I was getting this call from Chicago, and I didn't know what it was, and I kind of didn't have it on top of my mind that I was gonna get the call that day. So I was ignoring a couple of times that call. Third time I picked up, but it was Donna, our head of admissions, just giving me the news that I was being accepted. So yeah, that's kind of my story. Again, I was back at home, but initial reaction was just like, super thankful. I was one of those candidates that it was not easy for me. Like I was the type of, students that had to take 3 times the GMAT, right? I was kind of late with my essays. So I had just like a lot of people to thank because, I had a few tutors and admissions consultant, helping me out. So it was just like tremendous, gratefulness, right? And my now wife as well, she was super supportive. So it was kind of those initial hours, just like, all right, it's real now. We're going to Chicago. So that was the experience I had.
Oh, that's great. And do you remember anything about, did you attend any kind of welcome events or, just, things to help you with the process of getting in, getting over to Chicago and settled in?
I wish, because of COVID, my admitted student weekend got canceled. Yeah. Only round 1 back then, they did have theirs, but I was not part of it. But I did do a campus visit prior to applying. That helped a lot. I not only did Booth, I did, Kellogg and a few other schools that they were all super, receptive. Like the whole students I talked to were super welcoming, and I had a great experience just, getting to know campus. So I guess something that worked very good for me, and my advice to anyone who's getting admitted right now or even waitlisted or, continue in the application process is that be in touch as much as possible with current students, right? That feedback loop you have from them is super valuable to make a decision on which school you want to attend, and then obviously plan, all the other stuff that you need to plan, whether that's finances, social life, recruiting, so on and so forth. So that helped me a lot making my decision. But yeah, to your question, I was not on campus after being admitted.
Right. I should have thought of that with COVID and stuff. It's like, it seems like a very distant, thankfully,
Yeah.
like a distant memory, all those days where we were stuck at home. But I did want to ask you, going back to Juno, I think for a lot of candidates, they know what business school costs more or less. They've had to look at that when they were applying, if they were, if they were doing their due diligence a little bit, but then they haven't thought through exactly what that means. And, obviously some students will get some scholarship dollars. But I wondered if you could speak to the fact that the federal loan situation is a bit different than it used to be in terms of Grad Plus, if for domestic folk. But also, yeah, just what does it mean? Like, what are people tending to borrow? And I don't know if you can speak to like, what does that mean when they graduate? Like, I think people don't have a sense of like, oh, when I'm done with business school, I'm gonna have to start paying it back. But what does that like literally look like for most people in terms of like a monthly payment? And I recognize there's a lot of variation based on how much you borrow and interest rates, but just any kind of ballpark stuff you can give us here.
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me just start by addressing the federal piece first.
Yeah.
So, like you said, this year is going to be different from the federal loan perspective because for U.S. citizens or U.S. permanent residents, they no longer have access to Grad Plus, right? If you're starting classes beyond July 1st, 2026, Grad Plus is not going to be an option for you. That means that you only get to borrow up to $20,500 per year from the federal government. And anything you need beyond that, you'll need to go to the private market, right? Or, to different capital sources. So that's kind of the uniqueness of this year. And then obviously going forward, that's going to be the same case for everyone. In terms of how much debt we see MBA students take on every year, roughly 40% of the Juno members take more than $80,000 per year, right? That means that they're graduating with north of $150,000 in loans, right? Depends on the terms you select on your private loans, the length of that that loan, if you have a variable interest rate, so on and so forth, your monthly payment will change. But roughly speaking, I think that comes down to roughly $1,500 per year per month on a decent interest rate. And to your other point about, hey, how you should plan, right? One of the things that I keep seeing students miss is like, they don't tend to plan on the midterm to long term. And what do I mean by that? Say you're graduating May 2028, right? Everyone getting accepted today roughly will be graduating May, June 2028. Usually, full-time job offers will not come in until September, in some cases even next year, right? January 2029, something like that. So you need to plan ahead for that. Everyone has different recruiting strategies and goals in terms of full-time employment. But the point here is that you don't know what one job market you're going to be graduating to, and second, when that job offer is going to come in. So you do have to pay for your living expenses between your graduation and whenever you're starting your full-time employment, right? So those little things are, line item expenses that I see people not planning ahead. Because the cost of attendance that the school is going to give to you, which hopefully everyone is aware of before applying, is going to tell, hey, this is the amount of money you need to be in school, right? It's not taking into account anything, in between school and full-time employment. So little things like that are things that I see students not being very proactive in their planning. So main recommendation, talk to anyone who's graduating this year. Get their input, right? And go from there.
Okay. Yeah. One thing that's fascinating that you said, obviously it varies from person to person, but if people are graduating with 150K in debt or whatever, and you're saying that could translate to, maybe $1,500 a month in a loan repayment. One thing to keep in mind is that we've been seeing average salaries at, at least 150,000 at a lot of these top schools, if not more. In fact, I want to say maybe 170. There are a lot of schools, depending on, we see some variation there. But if you get a job and you're making 150, that's like 12.5K a month, right? So just to give people a sense of put this in perspective, you might be owing 1,000 or 1,500 a month to pay off your loans over the course of a handful of years. But you're right away post MBA, if you're looking at the average starting salaries, you're going to be making you'll be easily able to pay that off. So I think sometimes there's this kind of a fear of debt that's out there that seems a little irrational to me sometimes. Like I feel like obviously it swings both ways. I think there've been periods of time where candidates, maybe like when I was going to business school many years ago, people are like, yeah, I'll borrow a couple $100,000. I don't care. You know, that's what people do. And then it's shifted the other way where people are a bit more, you know, reticent, or they're a little more conservative, right? And I think one thing about the MBA is that it's such a great return on investment, and people may quibble over, oh, is it 5 years or 10 years before you're able to really, you know, kind of be better off than the person who didn't get an MBA, but you definitely end up better off, and way better off. And the longer that time goes by, the more we see those paths kind of drifting, where, you know, you're just light years ahead of the folks who just didn't bother. So in any event, I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if that tracks with your experience.
100%. And then you also have the intangibles, right? In that ROI, like how much value you're putting in that network that you're getting after your MBA, so on and so forth. And then one thing I'll add to that is that there's also refinancing strategies, right? So let's say you are in a place that your monthly expense, you feel it's a little bit too high or whatever it is, you can always refinance those loans. There are certain conditions you need to meet in order for you to be able to refinance. But the point here is that we do see a lot of MBA students refinancing their debt right after graduation to kind of, you know, get even more control on that monthly expense.
Yeah, and I had Chris, the co-founder of Juno, on the podcast recently, and one of the things he told me, and I didn't, you know, it makes perfect sense, but I hadn't thought this through. He said that if you graduate from business school and you've got your job and you're heading off to work and you want to refinance your loans, he said you get a better interest rate than you would have when you first took the loan, because now the bank knows not only do you have an MBA from a top program, but you've got a job and you're like a way safer bet, even though you were pretty darn safe bet to begin with. So he was just talking about how you can really lower things down because you get a lower interest rate. Obviously, you could stretch out the term. I mean, there are a lot of ways to kind of play around with it. So great advice. And I know that, yeah, Juno does that too, right? Like you guys get people together to do refis as well.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah. We've worked a lot with, again, like I'm the best example. I've refinanced my debt, and yeah, every year we try to get people to at least be aware of the interest rates available to them in the market, right? And you know, create some consciousness around, hey, you should be proactive on how to refinance, and you know, merge 2 loans into one. In some cases, we see people graduating with 4 loans, right? 2 federal, 2 private, stuff like that. So, you know, you can put all that together in a single loan and be, you know, have, you know, an easier monthly expense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah, I just real quick, I mean, what's the easiest way for someone to, other than they can see the things on our website, but is there a quick website for people to go to if they want to get signed up for Juno to be part of the buying group?
Thank you. Yeah.
Group, sorry.
Joinjuno.com. That's where we are. Again, free to join. We're negotiating roughly in May, and we release our deal by the end of May, early June, to whoever joined the group, and hopefully they're happy with the rates that we were able to negotiate on their behalf. Again, it's free.
Okay.
Takes a couple of minutes to join, and we also provide a lot of resources on how to approach this decision.
Yeah. So absolute no brainer. This is not one of those, you know, free for now and then pay later. This is literally free. Yeah. You just sign up and you will become, you'll at least get the offer to take the loan at the rate that they negotiate. You're not obligated to do it. So, yeah, really appreciate you making time, Diego. I think we have another guest coming up, so we got to kind of keep the show running here, but, hopefully we'll see you maybe at our big event in Atlanta later. I don't know if you're coming to that, but hopefully see you down there. Or somebody
I'll
from
be
the
there.
team.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Wow, we're on a roll.
Yeah. All
right.
Very excited about that. And thank you, Mike, as well, for putting all that together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy to have you at all.
All right. Yeah. Say hi to everybody over there, Diego. Appreciate it.
Will do. Good luck.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
So Mike, we've hit
oh, they're
noon.
Live.
So, well, it's noon. So we're going to
know?
We're assuming yes. They are usually on time. So I'm just going to put it up so that way we're good.
All right. I do want to give just another quick shout out to Johns Hopkins Carey School of Business for supporting us today. I mean, just, yeah, we really do appreciate it. Before we get into our next guest, one of my favorite people in MBA admissions, Meg. How are you, Meg? I hear you're in Hawaii. That can't possibly be true, is it?
Aloha. Oh, am I coming? Yes, I am in Hawaii. I'm looking out, it's still dark out. It is 6 a.m. in Hawaii
Oh my
right
God.
now. But yes, I am here. I am doing a triathlon on Sunday. Honestly, though, I'm only doing the swim leg of the triathlon. I do this with a relay team, but this is
cool.
yeah, we've been doing this for the past 10 years with my family. And so we are here, you know, to have some fun.
Oh my God, that's so great. And hopefully you didn't wake everyone up by having to do this morning. You know, maybe
Do you
we
know
should be
what's-
quiet to not.
No, the past 2 days I'm gonna share a secret about Haas real quick. The past 2 days I've been getting up at 5:30 Hawaii time to start making phone calls. So I've been yelling and screaming for the past few days here. So we're fine.
So
Everyone's used to it.
That's a perfect segue because I know you guys are continuing to release decisions, it seems, right? I think they're even going out we've seen some coming in on Livewire. So tell me about how do you just get a list from the director of admissions and you kind of have to go through this list over the course of your day, or are you given the ones that are like in your time zone? Like, how does it all work?
So it's much more random than anyone might think. And I think that's what I would like to share. It's more, for each AdCom member at Haas, we specialize in various geographies or affinities or industries. So most of the phone calls I get to make are actually people that I read their files. And so I've been in love with them from day one. And so I get to call them and say, the best part is reading what I wrote about them. As you read the file, you're making comments of here's what stood out to me. Here's what really makes them in such a wonderful alignment with Haas. And so I'm able to read that specifically to those who I read, who I advocated for. So these are my heart, my blue and gold heart that I get to call. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
They're almost like your little babies and children a little bit, right? Like in a way, it's like you feel like they're a part of the family.
Yeah,
Yes.
my little
Your
bears.
bears.
Yeah. Our little Haas
So-
bears. Yeah.
So are you willing to share any like fun or funny or crazy story with like you've called someone and they were somewhere weird or they had a really interesting reaction to the news or just a heartfelt reaction? Anything you want to share in particular that stands out?
Yeah, I'm happy to, but let me share one thing with let me share one thing with the group right now is anyone who has not received a call from Haas yet, don't stress. We're making our way through these. So I want to make sure that's clear. The formal admissions deadline and date of release is tomorrow afternoon. So Thursday afternoon, 4 p.m. California time is our formal release. We get to make calls because it's so important to us to be the first ones to say welcome to Haas and congratulations. But we are humans doing these phone calls, so getting through them. Some of us, in tropical islands, so just bear with us. But absolutely, if you have not received a call, please, I want to make sure people don't stress. But so the story that I want to share, and the overwhelming story is most of the phone calls I make, people are like, what? They don't expect the phone call. They're just processing that, oh, I thought this was happening on Thursday. So most of them are relatively quick of like, okay, tell me what I need to know now. You'll follow up with an email. Awesome. They'll call me if they need anything else. But a good chunk of them are also this release. Right, and whether it's screaming or being excited or crying, and I'm not the only one crying. Other people are crying. I cry a lot, but it's one where I equate it to you've just been through like a marathon in a lot of ways. Like you prepare to send in your application, you take your test, you get all your paperwork together, you get your letters of recommendation, you send it in, and then you wait. You have your interview and then you wait. And so it's all these things that you're working hard and you're trying to think about, well, what will my life be like next? And you don't know, and you're waiting. And then you get the call and it's like every emotion is released. And I can't even imagine just being, well, I can because I've been through these things, but you've worked so hard for something and now we get to call and tell you how wonderful you are and why we loved your application and why you're an amazing addition to the Haas community. Like that's got to be, yeah, a release of a lot of things. But we've definitely had singing and dancing and cheering with family. And I had a call the other day that I thought was funny. The gentleman I was speaking with, I heard him whisper, "It's someone from Haas," to whoever he was with. And so I thought that was great. But yeah, and crying for sure. Yeah, it means a lot to all of us. So it's pretty special.
Yeah, I love hearing these stories just because I think it really shows candidates that you guys are invested in this too. You know, it's not
Yeah.
like you're rubber stamping and just like putting these, files into a computer and being like, okay, this is in, this is out. I mean, there's a real love and care that goes into, kind of selecting candidates. And I mean, I say that just because I was on the other side for a little while, and it's yeah, it's really it yeah, you kind of really devote yourself to it, and you get to
Yeah.
know all these people, and it's hard sometimes. It's also hard. I remember some of the people that we rejected when I was working in admissions, or people who were, waitlisted and
Yeah.
trying until the last minute to get in, and you just didn't have room for them that year, or, so it's hard too.
Yeah.
But this is a great moment where you get to kind of deliver the good news.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of people thank me for calling, and what I share with them and what I'd like to share, how just very much on your point of like, these have all been people in one dimension. We see some videos, but mostly we're reading their applications. We're head down for months in the admissions committee. We're in meetings presenting these applicants. And so for us, it's also that like, we've been pushing for you. We've been on your side. And this is like a big deal for me too, to be able to jump on a phone or on a Zoom call and share how much I love them, because this has been, so like in a vacuum, and now
Yeah.
I get to shout it out. So it's really important and so special for us on our side as well. So yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to ask you that we've been asking some of the other admissions folks who've come on with us today is what happens next for Haas admits who are, wanting to come to the campus or meet other admitted
Yeah.
students or do that. Like, what are some of the things that you all do? I presume there's some kind of a welcome weekend or admitted students event that's coming at some point. So tell us a little bit about that stuff.
Yeah, Graham, great question. Thank you. So there are a lot of things that happen now for our admits. We have a new admit website. So for all of our new admits, they'll have access to that. The things that are coming up quickly are Zoom sessions. So opportunities to connect with other new admits, alumni and current students. So we have sessions where we have our students welcoming our new admits. We have sessions where I'm showing them how to connect with our alumni network. Quick background on me is I've been at Haas almost 20 years now. My first 17 were in alumni relations. So that's a big part of my heart also. And so now with our new admits, hey, here's your community. Here's your worldwide community. Let's get you connected. Because some people may be around the world and not able to come to California. But so let's connect you with those alumni who are right there with you. We then have our welcome weekend, which is called Days at Haas. And that is April 23rd through the 25th. And it's such a great opportunity for our new admits to come to campus, really feel what it's like to be a Haas student, both academically and socially, and make those connections again with their other new admits. And then the other thing that we do is opt-in, but for our new admits, they can join a networking roster so that they're able to add their information, and we're collecting information from them and sharing it with other new admits of where do they work now and what do they do? What is their goal job? What are some hobbies that they enjoy? And so some of this is we want the network to see that, okay, I'm interested in product management. Hey, here's a new classmate of mine who's just been doing that. This is going to be a great connection to me. Or I've been doing beverage distribution. And wait, here's a new classmate of mine who's interested in launching a beverage line. So it's this really great opportunity to start networking kind of in that close-knit group. Also to start planning, who am I going to go on trail runs with in Berkeley? Who am I going to go to this concert with? Or who's going to show me how to cook Indian food? That's what I always
Who am I going to do a triathlon?
I want the cooking. Yeah,
Who am I
who's
going to do
gonna
a
come?
triathlon with?
Yeah, who's gonna be my biker and runner so I can just swim and do the stuff that I like. So yeah, it's the networking roster is just such a great way for them all to really make that strong connection prior to even getting here.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say more broadly about Haas? I mean, people, obviously, some people are fortunate enough they've got several offers on hand and they're
Yeah.
thinking about these different schools. What would you say to someone who's kind of, thinking about whether they should come or not?
Yeah. So I'm biased, been here 20 years. So this is, much to Mike's point from before, like this is my family. These are the people that are everything to me and make me proud of what I get to do. I think my biggest suggestion to anyone making this decision is where is the place, like where will you go that you will be able, excuse me, be able to be authentically yourself? Where will you meet friends and colleagues who you want to start businesses with, who you want to be resources or part of their network for their lifetime? The MBA degree is certainly 2 years on campus for Haas, 2 years here, but it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of engagement. It's a lifetime of learning. It's a lifetime of connecting with this network of them being here for you and you being there for them. So where is that place that, sorry to be so silly, but where does your heart sing? Where do you just get to be who you're supposed to be and be in a place where it's warm and welcoming to grow into that? I hope it's Haas. It is for me, but it's very important, I think, that you find the place that's right for you. That's just going to make you more successful and happy throughout the long term.
And that dovetails really perfectly with something we were talking about earlier before you came on. This idea that, going to business school is the 2 years of your life. And I think sometimes they're excited about looking ahead beyond business school. They're like, oh, I want to go to this school because it's going to allow me to get this job, which is important. But I think it also matters that you have a really great 2-year experience and that you're in an environment, like you said, that allows you to grow. And it's a lifetime family that you're joining, so it's an important decision. And program like Haas, obviously Berkeley has alumni scattered all around the globe. I mean, I wonder, there probably are even some in Hawaii.
There are, and I've already been talking to them. They know I'm here.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
So we're gonna we have another guest coming up, but I wanted to say, can you just tell us a little bit about this triathlon? Like, are you swimming? You're swimming in the ocean.
Yeah.
Is there like lava pouring into the ocean near? Like, I just feel like
How much
it's
like
dangerous
Moana
out
is
there.
How much like Moana? Wow. So no. So it's yes, I do sing the songs of the ocean as I'm swimming, but no. So I'm on the big island. I'm on the other side from the active volcano, so we are okay.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a nice little bay that it's a 0.9 mile ocean swim. So it's out and cross and back. The best part, and I'm hoping there have been, and I would be remiss not to mention this, there have been some really major storms in Hawaii. And so everything is fine where I am on the island, but certainly on other islands, especially Oahu and Maui, there have been some major storms that things are not good. But where I am, we're happy and safe. And so the bay, the best part of it for me is that I'll be swimming along and you see turtles. But I, of course, being like I don't know what word to use, but loud. I get excited when I see turtles and I start screaming and pointing, and other swimmers are like, what? And I'm like, no, a turtle. So it's,
You're like,
I'm
shark.
No. Shush. Actually, this is so awful. What I say about sharks is I'm a good swimmer. I'm fast. And that's what matters because I've got other people behind me. Sharks will go for them. So I'm cool. That's so not beyond yourself. So not Haas beyond yourself. But and then I just want to share that a big part of why I do this is in memory of an aunt of mine who passed away from cancer. And so we raise money for Blood Cancer United as part of this also. And I think when you look at So when you look at the Haas community as a whole, our staff, our faculty, our students and alumni, we do things continuously beyond ourselves that also adds such value to us and to our families.
Oh, that's
but
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's on Sunday. Just think good things.
We will be
It's called
thinking of you.
Lava. Yeah, Lava Man. If anyone wants to, follow along, you'll see
right.
where I am. But yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, Meg, thanks a lot for sharing all these great
Yeah.
stories about Haas and making admitted students calls and just, life in Berkeley and
Yeah.
in your program. So appreciate you making time. We'll let you get back to your morning routine and hopefully the sun starts to come up soon. It's not too
Yeah.
dark out there. But yeah, thanks again and hope to see you really soon.
And good luck this
and
weekend.
Thank you, Mike and Graham. Thank you for all that you do. You're two of my favorites. So this is such a pleasure. So I'm happy to
Love
see
having
you.
you.
All right.
take
Have
care,
a
Meg.
great day. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
You too. All right.
All right. So in the interim, I guess Harvard, there's been some movement on Livewire, right? Harvard's had some, I believe I saw something go by. I was pretty captivated talking to Meg, so I wasn't paying close attention, Mike, but
I was looking
feel
around
like
for
there's been
sharks
something-
near me, so I was like, I wasn't able
Yeah.
to look at Livewire.
yeah, I see
now,
some
of course-
rejected. Yeah, some rejected from HBS is popping up, which is not great news. Always would prefer to see acceptances. So hopefully we'll see some of those. Lots of Colombia news, which is a good segue for our next guest. Yeah. So Mike, do you want to make the intro here?
Oh, yes. So next coming on, we have Trisha Bayonne, Assistant Dean of Admissions over at Columbia Business School in New York City, who surprised us a little bit this morning by putting
how
the
I did that.
decisions out a little earlier than last time, which was fun for us, actually. So I don't know if you caught us earlier, but we kind of reacted to the news like, oh, it's live.
I did
check the
see
portals.
that. But I did promise to release today. No week in advance things. We had let everybody who interviewed know we would be releasing on March 25th, and we released on March 25th.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
all you can do, right?
And it's been a really fun morning because, we had at 10 a.m. was Kellogg. You guys were at 11, now at noon's HBS. So lots of amazing programs issuing decisions in these like big batches. And are you relieved? Like, do you get any kind of downtime now that this wave is out, or is it like back to the grind?
I would love to tell you guys that we have some downtime, but our round 3 deadline is next week.
Wow.
And so we are already starting to read the applications that have been coming in early for round 3. And so there's really no rest for the worry. And, today we released not only the August MBA round 2 decisions, we also released the round 2 decisions for MBA Executive MS, our dual degree with engineering. That round 3 also is next week. And we have ongoing rolling admissions for our executive MBA program. So I would love to tell you guys that we have downtime. We do not. But yes, I did breathe a sigh of relief when the decisions were released.
Do you guys call students as well? Like, how does that part work? Or are students connecting with, is there, what kinds of things happen for them to kind of start meeting members of the community or each
Yeah.
other or that sort of stuff?
So when we invited our applicants to interview at that time, we asked them, if you are admitted, would you like to be contacted with a student? Effectively asking their permission to share their information with a member of our student body that aligns with an area of interest that they indicate to us. So those who opted into that process should be expecting to get a phone call from a member of Hermes, our student leadership admissions ambassadors, within the next few days. Probably they'll start coming out Friday or Monday, more likely. But really what's up first is on Friday morning for everybody who's been admitted, they are invited to a welcome webinar with me where I'll spend a half an hour with them, not only congratulating them for this really important milestone in their MBA journey, but also sharing what the next steps are and what they should expect. And then following the welcome webinar and the call they get from a student if they opted into that process, we have a whole series of webinars, Asks Me Anythings, that all lead up to our in-person Columbia Connect Day that is April 10th. So congratulations to everybody who received really exciting news today. We really hope to see you in Manhattanville on April 10th. But if you're not able to come to New York to be there for that, we have a ton of virtual programming that's available for you as well.
Yeah, it sounds like starting Friday, and you must. I mean, it must be fun for you to get to get that time with folks after you guys have spent
Yeah.
all this time reading the files and.
I love it in my professional capacity for sure. We've spent all this time with these files, as you suggested, getting to hear and read, hopes, dreams, aspirations, and their why CBS. I also really love it from a personal point of view because I remember when I got the phone call from Colombia that I was admitted and got that email in my portal. And it was a long time ago now. I'm class of 09, so I recognize that it's been a long time since I was admitted to CBS, but that feeling never goes away. And so for me, it's also a really personal, exciting day. I get to relive my own journey.
So let's do that. I've got to ask you, like, can you just tell us a little bit about like where were you when you saw the notification in the portal or got the phone call? And yeah, do you remember? You must remember this. I mean,
yes,
yeah.
no, I remember it very, very clearly. I was in my old apartment. It was a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Manhattan. And my husband was on a business trip, and I just kind of got an email saying your application has an update. And I remember being so nervous and clicking on that email and seeing the congratulations letter. Back then, the school also sent the physical hard copy. So about a week later, I got the physical hard copy in the mail as well. It was an incredible day for me to have that experience, and the fact that people who've heard me on webinars before know this. I was actually initially rejected from CBS. I had applied 1 year earlier, very late in the cycle. It was rolling back then, but it was the equivalent of a round 3 application. And I was denied post-interview, and I looked at my materials and I thought about how could I enhance my profile, and I reapplied the next year, and I was admitted in sort of the equivalent of a round 1 the following year. And so having had both the experiences of getting a rejection letter and then 6 months later getting an acceptance letter, and knowing how far I had come to get to that place, there's a feeling that's just accomplishment that never loses you, that you never lose.
Yeah, I totally can relate. You weren't with us earlier today, but when we first started this live stream, I was talking a little bit about decision day and how it feels. And I was in the same boat. I actually applied to business school and got rejected from all the schools that I really wanted to go to, including CBS. And then I applied the next year, the same way as you, or a little bit earlier with a slightly better profile, and it worked out, So yeah, I think you feel it all the more when you get that. After having been rejected,
Yeah.
you really.
So for all those who got news they were not as excited about today, there are paths forward, right? And so it's a time to, for sure, maybe take a minute to feel sad and to just sit with it. And then, in a day or 2 or 3 to then take a look at, well, what could you have done differently? And how can you improve? And start thinking about the next cycle. We actually do run a reapplicant session at the end of May, right around the time our applications open, specifically for those who are considering reapplying to us to help them think through how to approach the new cycle.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's kind of proof of what we were saying earlier, which is that business school admissions is unique in its welcoming nature for people to reapply. So that's terrific. I'd love to pick your brain on a couple of other things. I mean, one is, I'd just love for you to talk a little bit about your campus and the new buildings. I mean, they're still pretty new.
Yeah.
And just, people are sitting with this offer to potentially come. Tell us a little bit about why it's a really special place and anything you want to share about the program. And I know I was there not so long ago, and I was really blown away with the new facilities. So yeah, take us through whatever you want to share on that.
Yeah, thank you. So we opened in the Manhattanville campus in January of 2022. The campus is about 5 blocks north of the northernmost part of the main Columbia campus that's in Morningside Heights. So we are a bit removed from it, but we're still a walkable distance for sure. It is 2 beautiful buildings, a lot of glass, a lot of light, designed intentionally for open space collaboration. So you have your traditional classrooms, but you have a lot of open space that enables organic meeting with students, with faculty, with alumni who are in the buildings, just those natural space where conversations can take place. The 2 buildings are separated by about the size of a US football field. park, but underground is 100% connected. So you can walk between the two buildings without going outside, which is really nice in the month of January or when it's raining. Students take classes in both buildings, and students have career activities and community activities in both buildings as well. For those who've been to campus, they'll know that the admissions office is located in Geffen Hall, which is also where our big Cooperman Commons, the largest auditorium on campus, is located. So there's a lot of intentionality with the buildings that is to facilitate the learning opportunities and the networking opportunities, and it really enhances the community. So the buildings are part of our community. And then, you know, in terms of the New York City versus Columbia dynamic, what's really lovely is that when people come to campus, they have a tendency to stay for the whole day. They're not running back and forth a ton between apartments, but they can if they want to, right? They can run home to change into a suit for a corporate presentation that evening if they want to. They can take advantage of all that the city has to offer if they so choose. Having been through the experience and seeing our students for all of these years going through it themselves, I can say that people come and sort of get sucked into the community itself and perhaps sometimes forget that New York City exists. I lived in New York City before I went to CBS, and I really didn't see any of my New York friends for the 2 years I was an MBA student. I kind of emerged from the program. They're like, oh, you're still around. I'm like, I'm still here. I just really became, CBS became so much the anchor in everything that I did. But what's also really great about our campus is because we're in New York, every industry is either headquartered in New York or has a major hub in New York. And so heads of every single industry that you could think of beyond just finance are coming through New York, and they're coming through our classrooms, and they're coming through Cooperman Commons in speaker events. And so you have this access to this leadership and the whether it's executive leadership, thought leadership, you have this access just by being in New York that makes Columbia truly a special place.
Yeah, I think the thing that this was coming to my mind as well is that, and I'm going to get this wrong. I'm like really afraid I'm going to get this wrong, but there's something special about the cohorts at Columbia.
Clusters, yes.
Clusters. Yeah,
yes.
I knew it was, okay. So tell me about this, because I know that it's almost like, I wouldn't say competitive, but there's like a real kind of, school spirit to each individual cluster, yes. Right? Like they do. So tell us a little about how that works. Like, how's the student body divided up, and what is it that, they're like these sort of special clubs almost, right?
Yeah. So for August entering MBAs, so people who are admitted today, people who are admitted in round 1 will be admitted in round 3. There are 10 clusters. A cluster is 74 students. The clusters are lettered A through I. I was cluster G. I'm very proud of being cluster G. And so they're A through I, about 74 a cluster. And you will take all of your core classes your first semester with that cluster. And then within the cluster, you're assigned a learning team. This is a study group of about 6 people. Both the cluster and then the learning team are very intentionally designed to be representative of the entire class profile. So, intentionally different industries, different functions, different geographies, different years of work experience. And they're put together very thoughtfully so that your experience in the classroom, you are learning from people who have experiences different from you. And your experience on your learning team is also going to mirror what a professional working group would be like. You're coming from different backgrounds. You're coming with different roles that you tend to play. Or do you tend to play the lead in a team meeting? Do you tend to play the support in a team meeting? All of that is very intentionally designed. So your entire first semester plus 1 additional class in your second semester is with these 74 people. And so a lot of your community activities are with them. So you have cluster specific community bonding events like a CBS Matters, where you get to share what matters to you most for 15 minutes in the safe space of your cluster, and connects with people very intimately and in ways where you are public, but you're safe as well too. And you're finding connections with people through these experiences. Clusters have a tendency to travel together. Clusters have a tendency to have all kinds of social activity things together. Each cluster has a leadership structure as well. The way a professional club would have a president and a vice president, a cluster is going to have a very similar structure as well. They become your closest friends, and you will stay friends with people who are in the clubs you join and who you meet in your second year, but your cluster and your learning team are the people who you really truly hold on to. Shout out to my learning team. We are all still very much in touch, and they will be excited to know that I'm talking about them today.
I think it's a testament to how well it's working that you still remember the letter, that you were cluster G and your learning teammates. I mean, this is like more than 10 years ago that you graduated at this point, maybe 15, so who's counting? But I'm just saying, like, that's obviously a special feature of the program. Yeah. And I guess the last thing I wanted to say is, we kind of hinted at this earlier about like reapplication, but I wondered if you'd say a few words for people who are waitlisted.
Sure.
Like some people will get a wait list and they're like, oh, that's that, I'm out. They think it's really bad news. I tend to be a glass half full more on this. And I do think it's actually a really positive sign that the school could envision you in the student body. But tell us, what should someone who's sitting with a waitlist result now be thinking and doing as they, hope to convert?
Yeah. So first and foremost, if you were invited to the waitlist, you have to accept your place on the wait list, and your deadline is next Wednesday, April 1st. So to remain on our wait list, please first and foremost accept your place on the wait list. That's the thing to think about. Once you do that, then we are going to invite you to a waitlist webinar with me. It'll be the second week in April, where I'll talk a bit about what the waitlist process looks like. You all also have now on your portal a place where you can have waitlist updates. And so anytime you have a meaningful change in your application, you've had a job promotion or a change of job, you have decided to take the test again and you have a new test score, you have new job responsibilities, you have a new leadership position in your community, whatever the new thing is that's different from your application, you put it there, put it in the waitlist update, because then the admissions committee has immediate access to see it versus emailing and then it has to get forwarded a whole bunch. Put it directly into your portal. It is the way the admissions committee will see it. We do review waitlist updates on a regular basis. We do committee the waitlist on a regular basis. So once you are on the waitlist, you could be admitted at any point. I will say there are some decision points. So certainly round 3 will be a decision point. And so if you are on our wait list, either from round 1 or you just found out today in round 2 that you've been added to the wait list, round 3 is your next decision point. I think, Graham, you were talking about that with a previous guest earlier, that, you continue to get considered, and that's true for Colombia as well. After round 3, we will continue to maintain a robust wait list. We are mindful of deadlines. So if you have another deadline with another school, we want to know about it. We are also mindful of visa considerations. So if you are a foreign national, we are aware of what wait times are for getting visa. And so we're not going to string you along to a point where you're not able to get your visa. Well, we are aware of that as well. But anybody who is invited to the wait list, your final date where you could find out from us is not until 10 days before orientation. And so that would be August 14th. And so I know a previous guest of yours also did talk about how exciting it is for her to call somebody who's on the wait list and who's hung on. Well, so during that time, show us how you're enhancing, show us how you're growing, show us why CBS. You're on the wait list most likely because there's something in your application that might be holding you back. So similar to folks who were denied, take a look at your application. Think about what could you have done better. Is it a statistic that's holding you back? Is it demonstrated interest? Perhaps you applied to us having never talked to us or never done anything. Is it your story that doesn't quite make sense? Are you targeting a career that you haven't really thought through what the industry norms are and how your background makes sense and what you need to do to get to where you're going? So really look at all aspects of your application. It's sometimes it's one thing, sometimes it's more than one thing, but Graham, you are correct. If somebody is on the wait list, it means we saw something that tells us that they could be a great add to our community.
Yeah, and I just, I do think that we've seen over the years, there's movement that happens. As you said, there'll be around when you get through to round 3, you're going to be thinking about whether you want to take some people off the list. So, yeah, don't lose hope. I think it really is. You got to play the long game, and yeah, it's a positive sign. And then to our earlier point, if it doesn't work out, you could reapply. I would assume that someone who made the wait list in a prior year, probably a good candidate to reapply.
Absolutely.
Certainly came close. So yeah, no reason not
Absolutely.
to.
But if you did make the wait list this year and you aren't ultimately invited to join our class for this year, if you're going to reapply, we recommend you reapply round 1 sooner, right? And not wait. Sometimes we see people who hung on to the wait list until August and then they reapply, but they don't reapply until round 2 or round 3 of the following year. And we're like, you know what? That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Mike, did you have any questions for Trisha? I kind of feel like we've kept her a little overtime because she
I did
had
get
so
the
much good
warning
stuff
from
to
you
share.
two. Apparently this is happy hour.
Yeah, no, well, because I'm in Paris,
Well,
so it's the end of my workday, right? So Mike is
Trisha, not
Mike,
for me
you
in New
shouldn't be
Jersey.
drinking
No,
yet in
don't
America.
get me in trouble here. I got lunchtime. That's about it. No, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I go to
No,
happy
but I
hour
really
after work
yeah.
hours only, not when Graham gets off work.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but Trisha, I really appreciate you doing this, especially on a decision day. I mean, it's always, I feel like it's just it hits a little more home when we can talk to someone who's just actually hit release. And we talked with your colleague Steve earlier from Kellogg, who had done the same. They released their decisions earlier, so it's just been so much fun today. And yeah, we were great. Just really grateful that you could make time to join us.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course. Well, hope to see you soon. And yeah, maybe down the road in Atlanta or in Philadelphia, GMAC or something. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this and good luck yielding all these amazing candidates in. And yeah, with all the welcome events you got planned.
Thank you. And for those who are admitted, congratulations again. We can't wait to have you in Manhattanville. Bye-bye.
Excellent. All right. Take care. Bye. Mike, I didn't realize we ran a little overtime today. I didn't realize we were past our allotted slot, but apparently YouTube hasn't turned it off. So,
As far as I know, we're still, out in the interwebs here. Going back to Livewire, just showing, we do have some more Harvard results that have come through, finishing up some of the Colombia results that have come through. Still more just getting posted. Now we're looking at just hours of the day and when people are awake and things like that, right? So there's always people who may have found out an hour ago, an hour and a half ago that just didn't get online yet. So if you're leaving us now, because we're going to wrap up pretty soon here, but you still want to come back and check out Livewire later and see what the results look like and who's getting in and who's not and who's getting waitlisted, believe me, there will be more posts for all of the schools from today as you go throughout the rest of the day. So still plenty more to come there, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I guess we can probably put a wrap on this, but I was going to just say, we've mentioned it throughout the course of the stream, but we have a bunch of stuff coming up in May. That's pretty exciting. We've got some virtual events in the second half of May with a lot of great business school admissions directors. And we have our special event on May 11th in Atlanta. Obviously, if you can make it to Atlanta, join us there. 25 top MBA programs in one place for a series of panels, and you can chat with them, and they'll be at tables and talking to prospects. And if you can't, join us virtually at our events later that month. But yeah, Mike, anything else you have? I mean, I do want to again sincerely thank Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. Great program, as Jen pointed out earlier, a kind of up and coming program in the sense that the business school there is rather new compared to the 150-year-old parent university, but making some waves, I think, and some real strength. So really appreciate their sponsorship. And yeah, I mean, obviously, big thanks to all of our guests today, Diego from Juno, Michelle from Consortium. We had Jen from Carey. Who am I forgetting? Meg from Berkeley, Trisha from CBS, Morgan from Duke, and there's Steve from Kellogg. Is that it?
Yeah, you got it.
But yeah, no, this has been so much fun, and all the work that you put into it, Mike, to get us all these guests and have everything sort of organized is perfect.
Yeah, always fun to do these. I'm glad we're doing these, and I'm sure we'll be back doing them again. Maybe not just for decision days, maybe we'll do some interview invite days and things like that as well in future rounds here. But for those who hung on with us for the last 3+ hours, thank you. We're doing this for you, so I'm glad people are out here watching this and checking it out, and hopefully learning a little bit about each of the schools or our partners, and obviously checking out the results as they come through. If you're a future applicant, use this data, use our site. It's why it's here. So come check us out, sign up for our future events. You can learn more about how to apply to these programs. So we could be talking about your post next cycle when you get into one of these programs. That'd be our goal here. And stay tuned to ClearMid over the next week or so. We still have a bunch more schools that will be releasing decisions the rest of this week and into next week. We mentioned earlier, Chicago Booth and Texas McComb's big days are tomorrow, as well as kind of the finishing of, as Meg mentioned, at Berkeley Haas. They're going to complete their decisions later this week. A few other schools later this week as well. And then next week, we'll have Stanford, Wharton, MIT Sloan, the completion of NYU Stern and Marshall and a few other schools. So stick around with us throughout the rest of the month here and into April, and come post your results. And if you need some help deciding where to go, we have DecisionWire for you as well. But yeah, Graham, thanks for hanging out again for a few hours here to go through this stuff and share all your insights and your expertise, and the rest of our team who was helping out behind the scenes, not as front of the camera here, but definitely behind the camera, posting updates within our chat so we can keep up with what's going on. And I didn't need to have 16 screens. So there you go.
Yeah, big shout out to Vic, to Elliot, everyone on the team who's been kind of keeping an eye. But yeah, no, and I do want to say, if you're a candidate that's with us today who's been accepted or is currently applying, please do things like take the survey on our website, post your results on Livewire, DecisionWire, share your interview reports. I mean, these are all the things that help pay it forward for the next crop of candidates, and all the things that you took advantage of as you were going through this process on our site. So that's how this community works. It's definitely everyone's given back. So please do so. It helps keep the whole thing moving forward for us. And yeah, but Mike, appreciate all your time on this. And yeah, we'll see everyone really soon, hopefully at another event.
Sounds good. So with that, I think we'll sign off. We'll be on the site though, so if you are posting and have questions, leave it as a question on Livewire. We'll definitely catch up with you all there. But thanks again, and we'll see you at the next one.
All right, sounds good. Have a good day, everybody.